same. So that is the reason. Another reason why their price to earnings might be lower could be because of the fact that that business is a market leader. So as a market leader, you command Dangote's example, for example. You are leading in production, you are leading in this. You have a technology that your competitor does not have. So because you have something others don't have, you charge for it now. Hence your price will be more expensive. Yeah, it's more expensive because you've invested, you're a market leader. Yeah, it might not be so cheap, but sorry, people that will buy, and they'll still buy. So yeah, so those are reasons why, that's a very testable question. Reasons why two companies with typically the same capital, because capital structure could affect it, but don't get any moments on that one. Very complicated, not so complicated, but if you don't know it, you don't know it. So you just assume that two companies with same capital structure, same industry, same line of business, two different price to earnings. Those are the reasons. Maybe this one the one with higher one just released their earnings, they beat expectations, they just won a favorable court ruling, the market is reflecting that in their prices, they are the market leaders, they have superior technology, their prices obviously will be higher. Which other reason? Oh, maybe they just introduced an innovative drug. You find that a lot in all this healthcare, in all these healthcare companies. Maybe they've been testing a drug that could cure HIV and AIDS, and then there have been lots of clinical trials. And then at last, they've tested it on like 100 people that volunteered. And then after 2 years, those people said they no longer have AIDS. That company now announces it that they have the cure of AIDS. They are a healthcare company, Abby. So let's take, it could be Pfizer, it could be Allergan. Pfizer now announces that, oh, they found the cure of AIDS. Same capital structure with Allergan, same everything, but Pfizer has found the cure of AIDS. What do you think will happen to their share price? Because there'll be demand and they're the only ones. So all those things affect price to earnings multiple. Any other question? Ask your questions, though. Ask away.
So that means if the company's share price increases, the price to earnings ratio will also rise.
Yeah, that's the logic. That's the logic behind it. Because you compare price to earnings, and what earnings are you comparing it to? Their last financial year earnings. So fine, because all these favorable things have happened. Invariably, it should flow into earnings. Earnings too should rise, but you won't know how their earnings have risen till when? The end of the year. What reflects investors' opinion is the share price. So you can bet on the share price. You can't get earnings figure every day now. But Dangote is sending you earnings reports. Oh, we sold 1 billion today. Who's your daddy? So that's it now. Even if your daddy is Buhari, you can't be sending it. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So for instance, the price, they just released the earnings, and the price has gone up, people are buying. So I'm just asking, is that not maybe, let's assume it was selling at 220 now, and because the price released the earnings today, it's closed at maybe 240 that same day. Now, is that not maybe a wrong time to actually do it, given the fact that maybe people who are there for the short term will start selling and then the price going down?
So there are different ways to look at it. It depends on what type of investor you are in. So if you are the speculator, you are the scalper, you are in and out. Earnings results came out, they beat it, buy. When you feel you are comfortable with the profit you've made, you go out. And then if you are the type that you are like, oh, everybody will start buying, let me wait, let everybody buy. But when they've bought and they're now selling and it's now coming down, and now sell too, and now buy when it's now cheap. So different ways to look at it. You can buy immediately, and then if you're a fundamental investor, you're a value investor, you won't really be concerned about short-term market. Listen, you're looking at it 1 year down the line. They won a major court ruling, it's going to affect their earnings. Or they introduced HIV and AIDS. If you introduce the cure for HIV and AIDS, trust me, that stock price is going to be going high. Who sang that song? Don't Abi. High. So it's just going to be high.
I'm going to ask this question. It shows the cheaper.
Yeah. So that's usually that's the typical answer. If you check online, that's it. But for you to be able to defend both sides very well, it shows you are sound. Everybody, what they would expect is people will choose the stock that is with the low P, means it's cheaper. Since it's cheaper, it will make more sense for me to buy. Meaning that if I buy cheap, I'll be able to get more units, Abi. But you could also defend that, fine, this other one is expensive, but there are different reasons why it will be expensive. You now list all these reasons for your interviewer, and you now defend why you would buy it. Trust me, if I was the interviewer and you did that, and the other person told me that it's cheap, you buy it cheap. I'll go with the guy that took the other side and I was able to defend it than you, because it means he put in so much thought. You just came to tell me what I would expect. And I'm telling you that just imagine that, like everybody would expect, go with the stock that is cheap. I'm already prepared to hear that. And then all of a sudden you're not like, no, you won't go with the one that is cheap. You get my attention, number one. Because I'd have been here, go with cheap since morning. So you are now telling me go with the expensive one. I'll be like, nice, interesting, tell me why you go. You know, you're not able to explain it very well. Trust me, like if I was to grade you over 10, I'll give you 9. And if you're fine, I'll give you 10. Can you relate it to sales? In what sense? Price to sales?
Price to earnings.
How does rate of turnover affect price to earnings? I don't even understand your question. How does rate of revenue turnover is what? Total assets turnover is what? Revenue over average assets. I don't understand your question. No, try and explain. Huh? You think of it, okay. Any other questions? Dividend.
So an investment banker, is there any aspect in which dividend?
What you deal with dividends? So yeah, so dividends would be under intrinsic. So under intrinsic valuation method, you'd have what they call dividend discount model. So I don't think, they might ask you, so you use dividend discount model to value banks, financial institutions most times. You can't use a DCF to value a bank, I think. No. You can't use a DCF to value a bank. Why can't you? Someone's supposed to have asked me, why can't you use a DCF to value a bank? Maybe a bank has cash flows, Abi. The bank is stable. So why can't I use a DCF to value a bank?
So why?
Who wants to try? Why can't you use a DCF to value a bank?
Maybe because the main thing the bank is cash. So it's not, and the cash, most of it actually belongs to people outside. So it won't be too, let's say, actually reflect the true value of the company they are using.
Yes, he's getting there. That's part of it. So 2 reasons why you don't use a DCF to value a bank. So how do you use a DCF? How do you use a DCF? Wow, how do you use a DCF? So wait, DCF gives you what? DCF gives you an enterprise value, Abi? Enterprise value is what? Equity value plus what? Debt plus preferred stock plus minority interest minus cash. Debt is not the same with the bank. So debt, once they give you a loan, debt is an asset, not a liability. So it changes the dynamics in that equation. And then cash is also different, kind of. Cash to them now is not an asset, it's a liability. So it also changed the dynamic. So now, yes, and most banks, they have what? They have enormous cash balances. So if you are trying to get the enterprise value of a bank, trust me, you're going to get a negative value. And you can't tell me that First Bank is what minus something error. If someone could pull off First Bank's financial statements now, and let's plug this in. If you get their equity value on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, you get a figure there. You get their debt. First off, their debt will be massive because they give out like loans. So debt is not the same thing. And then preferred stock, I don't know if they have minority, I doubt they have. Then cash is different. The cash balance is usually high. So by the time you sum all this up, it's usually less than cash. Meaning the enterprise value you get will be negative. So in that scenario, a DCF would not work. That's they ask, why won't you use it to value a bank? Because a bank uses cash in a different way as other companies uses it. And because debt is also different for banks. So what you use in that scenario is a dividend discount model. Now, what is a dividend discount model and what are the different types of dividend discount models? So I think there's the basic, so the thing with dividend discount model is you are trying to get the value, you are trying to estimate the future benefits of any business, say a bank for example. So with a dividend discount model, you are trying to estimate the worth of a company by using its dividends. So with a dividend discount model, you would pretty much, so for dividend discount model, you use the Gordon growth model. That's under DCF. You are still coming. So So high level, this dividend discount model, you try and get what you are trying to get the capacity or the ability of the business to pay dividends, and based on that information, you are trying to estimate how much this business is worth. So if this business would pay so and so dividends, you try and see how that dividends will grow over the forecast period, and you try and get the present value of how that dividends will grow, and then you get a figure. Now, you don't just have banks. Okay. Okay. Break is 2:30, Abby. People are tired. Are you guys tired? No. You're not tired? You're enjoying the class? Okay, so yeah, so dividend discount model, you could use it for banks, you could use it for other companies too. And then there are different types of dividend discount model. So there's the single stage dividend discount model, and then there's the multi-stage. Trust me, you don't need that. You really need, no, I'm not going to, I'm just giving you a level. You don't really need that for.
Excuse me, you mentioned
Gordon's growth model. So it's a type of, it's like a single stage dividends growth model. So that one, the assumption is that your cost of debt is higher than your growth rate, and the growth rate is stable, but it's going to be the same forever in perpetuity, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you need Gordon's growth. So we'll talk about Gordon's growth when we talk about DCF. Very interesting. Then DDM, they might ask you how to value a bank, depending on who interviews you. So you have to, I'll try and see if I can touch it. But usually using a dividend discount model, that's how you value a bank. You could also value a bank using price to book. So you could use relative valuation methodologies. Abi, Shakira? You could use relative for banks, Abi? Yeah, so you could use relative for banks, and you could use a DDM. If you want to look at it from an intrinsic point of view, you can use a DDM for a bank, but you can't use a DCF for a bank. It won't work. So relative, precedent, so relative and dividend discount model, you can use it to value banks. So it's the same logic. So I said I wanted to give you guys a question. You guys understand the whole process of getting the value of a company, getting the multiple, applying the multiple to a line item. You get that, Abby? It's very important you get that. And it's also very important you know what multiples to use. Why has nobody asked? Why can't we use EV to earnings per share? Why can't we use EV to earnings per share, for example? Enterprise value to earnings. Why can't we use price to EV and all those ones? Somebody's asking. People just accepted that it's this one, is this one. Why if they ask in the interview that why is it this one? At least now you know why we use EV to EBITDA. You know why it is preferred. Everybody knows that one. So why not EV to net income? Why not enterprise value to net income? Why is it price to earnings per share or price to net income? Why is it not enterprise value to net income? Who knows? Why is it not enterprise value to net income?
Because under the enterprise value, we are not restricted to earnings and
earnings. No. Exactly, perfect. So enterprise value is the value of a business, taking into consideration both equity holders and what? Debt holders. But net income or earnings per share is earnings that are attributable to, is available to which people? Just equity holders. So you can't compare what is for just equity holders to a value that is for both equity and debt holders. That's comparing oranges to bananas. In finance, you compare apples to apples, pineapples to pineapples, oranges to oranges, agbalumo to agbalumo, cherry to cherry, berry to berry. You get? Exactly. So that is why it is, so enterprise value now is available to everybody. Is EBITDA available to everybody? Is EBITDA available to, yeah, so this is earnings before interest. This interest is, you pay it to debt holders, Abi? Fine. So this is earnings before, is even before, you first pay debt holders before you start talking about equity holders. So this one now, they've not paid debt holders, meaning they've not paid equity holders. So it's very good you compare these two. They are comparable. EV to EBIT, is it also comparable? So enterprise value is available to everybody, debt holders and equity holders. EBIT is also available to everybody, so you can compare the two. Enterprise value to sales too. Sales is the very first one, so it's for everybody. So you can compare those two. That's why we use these ones. That's why we use these enterprise value multiples. But for price to earnings, price number one, that's how you get your equity value. Equity price times number of shares. So it makes sense to compare price to what is available to equity people, which is earnings per share. Earnings per share is gotten from net income. And price to book value. So book value means total assets minus liability. So this is book value per share. book value per share. So this means price to book value per share. Book value means total assets minus total liabilities. So if you have total assets and you paid all your liabilities, your debt totals, the under liabilities now, if you paid all of them, what is remaining goes to who? Equity holders, shareholders, exactly. So this one is also comparable. I think there are a couple of other ones, I can't remember off the top of my head. People can check. So equity multiples, price to earnings, price to book value per share, enterprise value multiples. So the logic is you get the multiple and then you apply it to a line item. So let me give you an example or something to work on. Question? So yeah, so if you have, so ideally if you want to get the value of a company, you can't just take one company, unless it's only just one comparable company you have, but usually companies are in an industry. So another question, that's it. Thank you. How do you figure out what companies to use as your comparable companies? What are the factors? And not just give me like 3 factors you look at to determine if a company is comparable or if a company makes sense. So take for example Dangote Cement now. Oh, Dangote Cement's competitors be now, if we were to value. It's BOA trading on the stock exchange, so we can't really get the value. So which companies? Lafarge. Yeah, so you have Lafarge, Abi. You have what? CCNN. Which other one? Which other cement? Huh? Ashaka. I think one of these ones bought Ashaka or something, but Ashaka. There used to be Wapco, but Lafarge has bought Wapco. You see, they are just trying to compete with them. That guy is a bastard. Ashaka. So Ashaka, who else? So you see now, why did we pick these ones as Dangote's competitors? So factors to consider. Number 1. They're in the same industry. What other reason did we have for picking this one? Yeah, you could look at, but they all operate in Nigeria. Yeah, so yeah, that's another factor, geography. Oh yeah, which other one? Similar production, are you sure? Yes, so you could also look at size, exactly. So if you are going to use size, you are going to find out that these companies are not really comparable to Dangote. Dangote is a bully. So under size, there are now different things you could consider here. So these are like very important things you consider. So it could ask you also relative valuation, you compare, you get the value of this company by comparing other companies. What are the factors, what are the things you consider before picking a comparable company? You start by telling him you look at the industry to make sure that they operate in the same industry. You could look at the geography to look at the fact that they operate in the same. You can't compare maybe the largest cement manufacturer in the United States to Dangote Cement. They operate in different industry, there are different dynamics to it. So they are not comparable.
Won't you also consider listing as a
criteria? Listing in what sense?
Because
yeah, they produce cement, but we can't get their value. It's only if you want to get BOA's value, you now use these ones to get BOA's value, not the other way around. The reason you can compare this is by looking at equity multiples. So Dangote is trading at price to earnings of 8 times. This one is trading at what? So that way it gives you a value. It's telling you that Lafarge is 8 times, so Dangote is 20 times earnings. Lafarge is 10 times earnings. CCNN is 15 times earnings. Ashaka is 7 times earnings. If you've gotten a value, you can compare both of them. You know this one is more expensive. This one is 20 times its earnings. If its earnings is 1 million, this one's value is what? 20 million up the top of your head. This one is what? If this one's earning is 5 million, 5 times 10 is what? Whatever it is, 5 something, 15 times 1, 1.5 something. So you have a value and you can compare using equity multiples. But for BOA that is private now, you can now use EV multiples. Because these are publicly available companies, you can get their enterprise value because you already know their equity value. You go to their balance sheet, get their debt figure. No, usually you don't use, like I said, use the market value of debt. That's another, it's a very salient point. but they might not penalize you. You're not you don't have unless someone has investment banking experience, they will kill you. Market value of debt, that's what you usually use. Where do you get the market value of it? It's usually difficult. Usually difficult to get market value of debt, but you tell them you use market value of debt, then the other stocks, and then you get the multiple, and then you apply it to say the sales of BOA, or the EBIT of BOA, or the EBITDA of BOA.
I want to understand something. So you said I need to get the multiple of a particular. Okay, if I want to value a private company, something like this, and I get the multiples of different public companies, and I multiply by a line item in the private company. So, for example, I want to use the PE ratio.
Okay.
The PE multiple. Then I arrive at average PE multiple for the public companies. Then I multiply by a line item. So, what is that line item? Is it the
so a PE ratio is what? Price to earnings, Abi. So if the average of Dangote's PE ratio is what? 10 times. So this is telling you that this company is what 10 times is what? The average is 10 times earnings. So you fine, it's a private company, you'll still get information on what their earnings are. Earnings meaning net income. So the value of BOA is now 10 times their net income. It gives you their value. That's how you apply it.
Sorry, when you're talking about
line item. Net income is a line. That's profit after tax. That's.
But you also talked about using an
EBIT. Yeah. So if you're able to get the logic. If you're able to get EBITDA, if you're able to get EBIT, you can't use the case you gave us, or the scenario you gave us, price to book. You can only compare price to earnings with earnings, not with EBIT. So if we have EV to EBITDA, the average EV to EBITDA of these companies, and we get the EBITDA of BOA, apply the multiple to the EBITDA, you get the value of BOA. You get? I was just working on what you said. Any other question? So you get, first thing you want to value BOA, first thing you have to do is look for comparable companies. How would you look for the comparable companies for BOA? All these factors. You look at the industry, you look at geography. So your geography number one will be Nigerian companies, Abi. Nigeria is your geography. Industry is what? Cement. So you don't go to Nigerian Stock Exchange and start checking consumer goods or healthcare. So it's construction, cement in particular. So construction will be the industry. The subsector will be cement or something. Cement or building materials. So that's your industry. You're creating a screen. So there's the industry screen, there's the geographical screen, and then you now look at size. Size is also very important. You can't compare Apple. You can't compare Apple to Dell. Who knows why you can't compare Apple to Dell? They both produce laptops, but why can't you compare Apple to Dell? Dell is not. It's not, no, they were listed, but now they are trying to get, in a way, kind of get listed.
Revenue flows through iPhone, so the iPhone, they have other services to provide aside just producing laptops.
Exactly, that's another thing. You have to actually look at these companies to see if they're actually the same. Not all companies that are in producing cement are similar. Not all companies that are producing hardware. Look at Apple, for example. Apple is a computer company. I think Dell is also a computer company. Apple produces what? Laptops. Dell produces laptops. Dell also has a very strong, I think it's in network infrastructure business. They bought VMware. They're into a whole lot of other stuffs. But usually what you try and look at is what division of the business generates most revenue. So if you're looking at Apple now, what part of Apple do you think generates most revenue? Sale of iPhones, Abi, generates most revenue. Sale of iPhones, sale of hardware products, iPhones, laptops. Which one generates most revenue in Dell? I don't think it's still sale of laptop. Now they're into a host of other stuffs that I think generates much more revenue. So you can't be comparing a company that generates 90% of its revenue from selling phones and laptops to a company that generates 90% of its revenue from providing services like maintaining your server. Fine, they both sell laptops, you get. They are both in the same industry, but are they really the same? No. So in terms of size now, there could be financial size. Under size, there could be financial screen. So under financial screen, your comparable company, you now screen it down. Fine, they're in the same industry, fine, they're in the same geography, fine, they produce the same exact thing. They all produce laptops. This one, they all produce laptops, this one produce, like two companies produce the same exact same thing. But are they still really the same? If Apple generates revenue of $20 billion and the company, other company in your comparable company generates revenue of $2 billion, are they the same size? No. That value would definitely be different. In that way, like you have to break it down. Fine, you give them high level, but if you're explaining all these minute things to them, it shows you understand what you're saying. So at the end of the day, in an industry, there might be 20 companies. But when you are doing your valuation, in terms of companies that are actually the same in terms of industry, geography, size, you might end up with just 5 or 4. So these 5 or 4, you get their multiples, find the average, apply it to your company. Yeah. So under size, you look at financial screening. So there are different things you can use to screen them for size. Your screen could be companies that have revenues of 2 billion naira above. That's the financial screen. Or companies that have generated net income of 500 million naira above. That's the financial. So any company that has less than 500 is already out, even if it's inside the cement industry and what have you. So that's how you do that. So yeah, so any other question before I give people my little class work, just to see if you guys understand? What of that screen? My research, yeah. Go and check online. I've tried now. Industry screen, geographical screen, size screen, undersize, financial. Yeah, I think you'll try. Try now. So check. I think there are other screens, but these are the major ones. Once you like tell them these ones, they know you know what you're talking about. So that's the thing. So 220. You guys, your break is 2:30. So just quickly do this stuff for me. So company X is a private company. Company, and someone is going to come and work it for me. Company X. Let me just write it. So we have company X, we have company Y, we have company Z. So company X, Y, Z. Company Y and Z are public companies. Company X is a private company. Company X has EBITDA of, no, not company X, company Y and Z has EBITDA of let's say 2,000. Company Y has EBITDA of 2,000. Company Z has EBITDA of 2,500. Company Y has equity value of, no, company Y has company Y's share price is 10 naira per share. So share price for company Y is what? 10 naira per share. Share price for company Z is 15 naira per share. Shares 15 naira. Shares outstanding of company Y is 1 million. For company Z, it's also 1 million. Company Y has debt of, say, make the EBITDA for Y and Z 200,000 and Z 250,000. So EBITDA for Y is 200,000 instead of 2,000. EBITDA for Z is 250,000 instead of 200,000. So let me just recap what I've said. We have 3 companies. Company X is private. Even if by now you should know that that's the company we're trying to value. And then we have 2 public companies, company Y and Z. Company Y has EBITDA of 200,000. Company Z has EBITDA of 250,000. Company Y has share price of 10 naira. Abi? And company Z has share price of what? 15 naira. Company Y has shares outstanding of 1 million. Company Z has the same shares outstanding. Now company Y has debt of what? 50,000 naira. And company Z has debt of 25,000 naira. Company Y, yeah, 25. Company Y has cash of 20,000. Company Z has cash of 10,000 naira. Company Y has cash of 20,000. Company Z has cash of 10,000. Okay. The EBITDA of company X is 180,000 naira. Of company X is 180,000 naira. Can you guys help me figure out what the worth of company X is? Determine the value of company X for me. Yeah, help me figure out the value of, what value are we going to get for company X to start with? Is it an enterprise value or equity value? What value are we getting? Enterprise value. So help me get the value of company X. You have 5 minutes, sir. 5 minutes is too much, sir. Yeah, about 5 minutes. And if you are very confident, you come and help us solve it, yeah? And then after the break, we start DCF. You guys have 2 more minutes. Well, you guys should pencils up. Who wants to volunteer and come and solve it? Who wants to volunteer? Who wants to volunteer? Who wants? Yeah, come on, try. No, you. Yeah. Yeah.
What's the limiter for X?
180,000. 180,000. And 5 minus 10. So yeah, 15. Does everybody get this? Huh? Yeah. You guys should give him a round of applause. So exactly. Did everybody get it, or you were close to this if I had given you more time? Huh? You got 9 point something. 9 point. Did everybody understand it? Anything you want me to walk through there? It's almost time for, it's already time for your break, sir. Is there anything you want me to walk through there? Very clear. Is it very clear? If it's not clear, if it's not clear, tell me you paid money for this, so is it clear? You are sure it's clear? Fine, no problem. So break 2:30, or how long does your break last for? 15 minutes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Are you supposed to solve this often? Yeah. And if they are so nice, you can solve it on the paper. You ask them, it's all about confidence. Can I walk through this on my piece of paper? Nobody will tell you no. Unless they just, maybe they don't like you. Or they like you. You know how people like you and not like you. Exactly. So this is just it. So at least we are good with relative valuation. Oh, we've not touched, we haven't touched precedent, transaction, and DCF when we get back. What's it called? Yeah? Approximate what? 60? Yeah, you can make it. And another little thing there. So it's not 50 point. What is 50.15 times? Not x times 50, or approximately 50 times. So this one's value is 50 times its EBITDA. This one's value is 60 times its EBITDA. So the average is 55 times EBITDA. So to get this value is this 55 times EBITDA. Yeah. So that's just it. So 15 minutes break. We'll be back at say 3 o'clock. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Mind taking your lunch now?
Yeah, I don't mind. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Can I get it packed? I rather eat when I leave. Yeah, no, so I don't get very heavy.
So I'll pack it for you.
Okay. I'll just hold this. Oh, there was one there.
So there was one there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
It's really enough for you guys.
Good afternoon. Fine.
Nice to see you again.
Same here.
How's it going?
Not bad, not bad.
You had like strong.
Yes, break. We're on break.
I keep on living here. You guys see.
Did you get an SMS yesterday?
Yes, yes, I got. Yeah, no problem now. Who took the accounting class?
He was actually said that, but
Oh, okay.
the time was really short.
Okay.
And you know,
Okay.
most of these students are not they do not
Yeah.
have accounting. So
Yeah.
the time allotted to that course was pretty short. So I have to do an extension now.
Okay.
So you can just
Okay.
rush up
Okay.
there.
Okay. No problem. Fine.
Hi, can you open
Boss,
Sure.
I've been generally.
Yeah.
I saw you one day at well, I didn't after uni like.
Okay. That'll be Paco.
Paco,
So I stay around there.
Okay. You're trying to. I think you're trying to get welcome to school.
Okay. Yeah.
So when is service?
Ending of this month, 24th. So that's like next week or 2 weeks time.
Oh, so you're going to that part?
2 weeks. No, I'm Lagos now. Standard.
That's criminal. I have a conversation. I will. Okay, I will. Why Lagos? Why you now walk into Lagos? What doesn't go through?
It will pull through. If it doesn't pull through, I would have to go outside Lagos just for 3 weeks and then I redeploy. So one way or another, I'm coming back.
Already?
No. So you'd have to get Lagos first, then you go for camp. Then after camp, you get your PPA. They try and send you somewhere, but you try and send yourself to where you want to
So usually if you have somewhere already, you can take a request letter.
Yeah, to them.
To NYS and say,
Can Talentmine take a PPA? You guys can serve as a PPA now. Yes, you guys can. I just need somewhere where I'll be getting letters every week and then I can go and do what I want to do.
So what do you want to do?
IB. So I have an offer somewhere. IB.
Okay.
So and I don't want to get my letter from there. So that I don't get tied down for 12 months. So the beauty of you getting somewhere you can be getting your letter is you can, if you get anything better, you can just be moving. But your letter is coming from one steady place. So that's the thing.
But then even on your CV, it would say, oh, you were serving here and you were working here.
No.
Only if you said not now include it.
Yeah, no. You guys are just just there.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Someone has asked me the same thing. So you trade for us, right?
Trade for you.
I mean, yeah. So you're doing this for us.
Yes. So exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm part of the family. I went through Talentmine.
Yeah. So you can.
Yeah.
I mean, I can have that conversation with him. I mean, top of my head, yes, I know.
Okay.
I mean, he will still ask me, go and sign it.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, so you still tell me. So what do you think? I mean, but I'm just more like a second thought. But I mean, top of my head, if you do this for us, and it's as if, yeah. I mean,
Pretty much all I would be getting from Talentmine is just that letter. You did NYC now.
Yeah,
That
monthly,
the monthly letter. That's pretty much it.
Now let me now see. I mean, I don't think it has any implication or not. I don't think it has any fact implication or not.
Nah, not really.
Only if they don't say the name is not paying on our payroll. Is that something I pay on payroll?
No.
But that's another
Because
issue.
most PPAs don't even pay.
Yes.
So the government pays
So we
the
say
NYC.
we don't
Exactly.
pay.
Exactly.
So is it allowed that private organizations don't pay PPA?
So it's up to the PPA to pay or not to pay. Because most private organizations know that the federal government pay NYC guys
But
allowed.
is it not criminal for private organizations not to pay?
There are lots of them. There are lots of them that don't pay.
Even 5K.
So 5K, what is 5K? 5K
Now,
is, 5K is like no pay too. So that's the thing. 5K is like no pay. That's the thing. So long as the NYC person doesn't complain or goes to the secretariat and like they're not paying you anything or blah, blah. But even at that, they'll tell you using the federal government paying you 20. Because the federal government posts coppers to schools, those public schools, where they don't pay them. So they rely on the 19.8 they get from the federal government.
Sure. I mean, I think that plays our role. I mean, sure.
Okay.
Let's have this conversation again.
Okay.
Let's have
No
this
problem.
conversation again. I mean, I'm trying to.
No
let me
problem.
just do a feedback session with this
Okay.
students
Okay.
to see what they.
Talentmine football. I'm mad.
I work with Talentmine. I mean, I work with experience and we don't have a feedback on what we think we need to add make it clear. I mean, for us, we want this session of experience to be lifelong experience. That's one that we share. It's not just about in the class and you're listening to this or you're planning anything. We're expecting that this training will be sharp one and will always have to program. So this is one of it. What do you think need to add up to it to make it like more education? And actually, I mentioned that we have the passion of giving now and it is very good. But you got this more, so you're good at it. So you actually come to gain, you yourself, you do the same thing. Now, this is big. However, you probably will find the great one of the things that you have to run. So there's a few more things. Yes, a few more things. From the our
Okay, okay.
And this is to actually hear your other name.
No.
Thank you very much.
Then secondly, I think the goal we've got to kind of get around, like you said, it's really simple as everybody. So,
Outside guys all hear you.
Beard. What? Come.
Guys outside.
Are you watching now?
Yeah, okay.
What do you want to hear me?
I want the most now. This is part of the class.
Huh?
This is part of the class.
Can I put it in my pocket? Oh, okay. So yours was blank.
yeah, and then
The email.
When I read it, it did feel like probably personal to me. I think it was probably something that was sent to everybody. Maybe I'm mistaken. So I can't really get maybe my own personal feedback on how I felt at this stage.
Oh, okay. So there are always feedback forms after every session, right? So yeah, you might want to impute that so we know why your own. I think other people got responses from their own.
I feel the feedback from before the interview response actually came, so there was no way to actually put that there.
Okay. Since a lot of people want to get like personalized feedback for how they did interviews, we probably would look into that to see. I know everybody's fear is to know, oh, what did I do? Because everybody's scared of, oh, did I do bad? Did I do good? Where did I do wrong? What can I make better? We probably will try look around that. Again, you have more interviews. Hopefully, the feedbacks will be able to help you get better at interviews. Okay, so so for the interviews, basically, yeah, and interviews that was just last week, right? Okay, yeah. So obviously, we'll work on that and let you have comprehensive feedbacks. Most likely, personalized feedbacks. Okay, so someone there. Okay.
About the awareness, like if we look at the population of schools, just majorly going to the lab or some other. So I think you guys should work on awareness.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, so he thinks about awareness. He thinks we should reach out to more schools and get in more people. Okay. I mean, before answering that, first, please can you put, we have a large team at Talentmine, but we have Biodun, Suleiman, and Beatrice on this project. But can you please put your hands together for them first? I mean, so as much as you think we didn't reach out, we got over, how many applications? 3,000 applications. Over 3,000 applications. Now, we had to, yeah, I know what you're saying. So we had to sieve these applications to come to this. Ideally, we do not like to take above 30 per class. Do you understand? And that's so that these feedbacks can be personalized. If we reach out to more schools, it means that, so this particular session, we reached out to more people. That's why we have this number. So this is about 57 on-site and off-site, which is usually not like our practice. We want to have like just 30. So we try to not do the massive. So you were going to say something? Okay. 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 So I was going to get there. Have you applied for Bank of America internship before? Hello, sir. So have you applied for Bank of America internships before? Okay. So when you go in to apply for the internship, I click the drop down. Most of the schools you see on those drop downs are the schools you see here. Now, not because we're not taking other schools, but because BAMO and some of our clients have their search beam on some particular schools. Say, oh, when we enter, how many Unilag students are here? I mean, when we enter Unilag, we get top quality talent from Unilag. When we enter OAU, so the search beam is always on Unilag, OAU, UI, UNN, and some schools like that, and it's because of quality. Yeah, so we are also careful not to zoom into some other schools and we don't get top qualities. Now, these schools that you see here are the schools we have brand ambassadors. So we have campus ambassadors in these schools where our clients ask us, please give us students from these schools. Okay, but in the coming years, so for our graduate refinery, we don't say this school, like we throw it around like everybody. But because our clients want basically from this pocket, we try to make sure we don't like totally exceed it. Now imagine they are looking at getting students from some 10 schools, and we have students from another 10 schools that's not in the pocket that they are looking out for. What do? That means we're in trouble. We'll start looking for students in that school where they want. I don't know if you understand me. So that's why it's been like that. But however, we're looking at having 2 streams of this going forward. So we might then start opening up to more schools where we'll get more people, and then recommend to BAMO and other clients and say, oh, see, we have students from these schools. In our tests and our exams and everything, they performed well. Try them out and give them a chance. I don't know if that answers your question. So yes, we'll look at doing that going forward. Okay. All right. Okay.
Why we're discussing about test and exam, it gives us the topic of what we do, the exercise we carry on so far. Personally, I feel
they are basic.
not about the difficulty level, but it's something that we should all be able to do once. We should be Talentmine to provide a package where you do it once, and whatever you do once, you determine your results. Not something based on the format and the way it's structured. People do it 10 times, take it 10 times, then get everything once.
Okay. So, someone got trapped in the closet. Next time I will open you. I'll leave you there. Okay, yeah, so to answer your question, every time we sit in the office and we think through these things too, and I mean, it's amazing for us. The honest truth is, this is not a school. So we're not looking out for you failing it, right? So if you do it the first time and you don't pass it, what do you do again? You go back, do it again. Now, if you do it 10 times, like the joke I always crack in the office, if you do it 10 times and your scores keep going down, that means there's a problem somewhere. Am I right? So if it's over 100, the first time 50, second time you score 40, last one, next one you score 30, and your scores keep going down. That means there's a problem. But the first one you score 10, second one you score 30, third one you score 40, and you're doing it yourself, and you're going back to it, and it's getting better, and you submit the final result. We know that you have gotten better trying to do it. Now, the better you is what we want to see, not that you did it once, oh, we then tell you, you see, you failed it. So this is not a school where we're looking out for, so this person did not pass it, you failed it, good. We want you to fail it. Go do it again. As much as you can do it, so long you eventually perfect it, you understand it, and you're better at it. So this is not a conventional school where, so you understand it now, right? We have unlimited, guys, can I please have your attention? At the office, we have unlimited internet where we can say, oh, everybody, and we batch you and say, on social day, come write your own, you do, you fail. But then, you fail, you see your score, you see how you fail it, you go back home with your head in your pocket, right? But you can do it from your homes, you fail it, only you know. Then you work on it again and you pass, then give us the best result. We want to say better you. And that's what we're working towards here. Okay. Okay. Okay.
The off-site we get. There are really no, at least the next on-site, they are not practically tested at least confirm or
that you've done it. Again, it's not a conventional school. If you like, do really it. So if you apply for internship, you apply for jobs, you do interviews. If you like, do not. So we're not on your neck to say it's a do or die affair. We expect that you are professionals in making, you will read these things. We would like to test you in those things, but if we test you and you don't scale, so half scale, half did not scale, so we are enforced have to start reading it again, right? I mean, we expect that you read it. You read your schoolwork, so we expect that you read these things. So let's not do like lecturers. I mean, so let's not be too hard. So one last question and I'll go. The man in black, I'm ready for you. So I'll take the final question and I'll.
So I think it's a great cover. But first of all, there is this influx of aptitude tests that we have to do. At times I wonder if we will have to do all these tests for the program we are going through for itself.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of them and a lot of them.
Yeah. So investment banking is actually a rigorous profession. I mean, you hardly would even have time. You would do more than this work that you are doing. So this one that you are doing here now is just small. So the aptitude test is to get you prepared, like be serious, be doing it, do. And we're not on your neck to say you must pass it, right? We're not on your neck to say you must pass it. Try it, do this thing. Okay? Sorry. Yes, I just want to quick answer a question. Now, for every test, there's an expected result. Now, because we're not telling you the expected results, that's the test. I didn't get that. Will you use the test in trading? In grading you. So the grading that we do is to test your level knowledge. You say, oh, this person is good, this person is this person is that. Also, the more tests you do, the finer you come out as a person. When our clients then say, oh, recommend to us, it's then not difficult for us. We want to say, on this ground, we're recommending this person. But if you are not sure, now I've said, we're not telling you why some tests are being done. Yours is just to do it. We get the result, right? We can then say to our client, on this ground, we recommend this person because this person has shown this level. Do you know that if you don't attend a certain level of class, we'll return your money back to you and tell you not to come again? Yeah, which is we're returning your money this week, right? Yeah, we're returning your money to you. So it's not about, yes, we return your money and tell you if you do attend some level of classes. And that's because we want to be able to recommend solid people. But if you don't come to class because you think I've paid, and you don't come to class, and you don't, so how do we recommend you? You're just feeling the sick, you're eating the food. Kukuma, take your money and stay in your house. And that's honest truth. We want to have solid people to recommend. So the only way we can know you're solid is by this aptitude test and by these assignments. Okay.
Because most of all, I'm going to apply for BAMO.
Okay.
BAMO use SJs as their test.
Yeah.
So can we introduce SJs into the test program?
There are SJTs. You will get there. There are SJTs. Okay.
Some of us, right?
Suleiman, any question there? Okay.
Some of us actually
Going for service. Oh yeah. So for so you're saying in terms of recommendation, right? Or
one graduate
oh.
like one outside.
Oh, okay. Oh, miss classes. No, Beatrice will handle that. Beatrice will handle that. Those are going for service. Beatrice will handle that. Beatrice will handle that. Okay, so thank you so much for the feedbacks. We have taken note of all the feedbacks. We will work on the ones we need to work on. But the most important part is we need to make sure that we have solid candidates that we're recommending. We need to be sure that you're good. Now the grading is also very, so you've seen the grades, right? You like them, right? Basically for the grading, everything you've been doing, tests, assignments, interviews, and everything. I look at the grading, I peep on Beatrice's system, I see the grade most times and I'm so happy.
I want to ask, just speak to like probably not really like a solution, but probably a feedback or all those ones that actually consume quite a lot.
Okay, I mean, so all that are bitches will respond to that, but then we're working like on a whole lot to also make you get like the best experience from this. Almost everyone who trains at this refinery are products of this refinery. Okay, I mean, guys, I don't know if you're listening to me. Everyone who trains here are products of this refinery. They currently interned with BAMO, Goldman Sachs, or currently working with an investment banks, and they went through more rigorous process than what you're going through. Yes. Have you left this place 8 o'clock before? You've not. You've not left this place 8. You've not left class 8 o'clock before. Have you 7? Have you done Excel for 8 hours non-stop before? How long have you spent on financial modeling? You want that?
Yes.
You want that?
Yes.
Good. In fact, you guys are taking financial modeling today, right? Or what are you doing? Evaluation. You're doing evaluation today. I'll talk to Lovely. He will take you evaluation very well. So there's no rushing. So feel the aptitude test. You do test. They are tests. So you will still do test.
Unless you become
Come on.
No, we're not this.
8 p.m. What about you, 8 p.m.? No, not 8. 6, 7. 7, 8. I don't know. Okay, oh, everybody. Can I have your attention? Oh. Thank you very much. Emeka. Everybody enjoyed their break, have you? Everybody's pumped to get to Bamol and Goldman. I'm working ID. Who's going to tell you people? Okay. So we have We have precedent. We have two valuation techniques left. Yeah, precedent and DCF.
Okay.
Who wants to give a stab at precedent? It's pretty much relative. Who knows what precedent transaction analysis is? What it entails, kind of, and how you can use it to value a business or a company. Who wants to try? Anyone? Precedent transaction. No, like, can you explain what it is? We know it's a relative valuation method, yeah? So how do we use it to value a business?
Like you all know, it's based on past transactions carried out on similar firms in the past. We're also looking at, in that valuation that was did in the past, what were the metrics that were used? Did they use, what multiples were used in that valuation? Then you now adopt those same multiples and the values to.
Exactly, that's just it, short and simple. So you're looking at precedent transaction, past transactions, Abby. Most of the deals you see announced or the deals you see completed, they usually have a little bit of information on the deals. So take Bayer and Monsanto for example. I don't know what the multiples was. Is there anyone I know what the multiples are? Off the top of my head, none. But most of these deals, they'll give you the multiple. Or Bayer acquired Monsanto at a multiple of, say, 15 times earnings, at a multiple of, say, at an EV to EBITDA multiple of 13 times, meaning Bayer paid 13 times Monsanto's EBITDA for that business. So what you do generally is the same thing, you find averages. So when you get, so the very first thing you need to do with precedent transaction is, you're trying to value this business. You have to make sure that the transactions you are going to use are comparable. You get? So you have to make sure the transactions are comparable. So you can't go and use a previous transaction in a telecoms industry to value a business in the industrials industry. You get? So still, all this stuff still old. Where are those stuff? Yeah. So this thing's still old. So when you're looking at precedent transactions, you make sure the precedent transaction occurred in the industry you are looking at. You make sure that it's in the same geography. Another thing you add to this one too for precedent transaction is to make sure that it's not so old. So you want to look at recent transactions, say transactions in the past 3 years. So you put recent transactions. So you use all these screens to pretty much get transactions. The reason you're getting those past transactions is to do what? Get what? What are you trying to get? What are you trying to get with all these past transactions? They are multiples, exactly. And then you apply the multiple to what? The company you are trying to value, the line item there. So that's precedent transaction, nothing very complicated there. Yeah, so let me ask you, maybe no, after this one now, that's. So that is pretty much what precedent transaction is about. So let me give a quick example. So if, let's say company X was acquired at a multiple of 5 times EBITDA. Company Y was acquired at 7 times EBITDA, and company Z was acquired at 5, 7, 9 times EBITDA in the past 3 years. Determine the value of company A. What would you do if company A's EBITDA is say 20 million?
7 times.
7 times what?
7 times.
How is it 7 times? How did you get the 7 times? And divided it, exactly. So you get the average exit multiple, or the average transaction multiples in times past, and then you apply it to the line item now. Fine. So that's just precedent transaction. Very simple. Very simple. And then also a precedent transaction. So in a precedent transaction and a company comparables transaction and a DCF, so a company comparables valuation, a precedent transaction valuation, and a DCF valuation, which one would be higher? Which would be the lowest? Which would be in between? Which do you think would be the highest, produce the highest valuation? That's a very testable exam. I say exam interview question. Which one to produce the highest? Company comparables this year. President. Someone said president. Why president? What's that? Who said president transaction?
Okay, I feel it's president transaction because of the premium that's factored into value.
Exactly, that's just it. So if company X wants to buy company X wants to buy company Y, fine, company Y is worth what? Company Y is worth 10 million. Company X is not going to buy company Y for 10 million. They are going to pay something on top, Abby. Exactly, so that premium, they call it control premium. So there's a control premium built into most acquisitions. So that affects the value companies end up paying for those companies. So because of that control premium, the acquisition value is usually higher. So if you are trying to get a valuation using precedent transactions, your value would be higher than say this year, for example. So this year, so which one will be the lowest? How do you know if DCF will be the lowest? Who told you DCF is lowest? Because I said DCF, have So which will be the lowest? Not necessarily, but yeah, not necessarily, but DCF would be low. This liquidation valuation could also be low, depending. But DCF, not every time. DCF is very variable, and you get to understand why. So with DCF, there are lots of assumptions. So if your assumptions are overly optimistic, your valuation will be overly high. If your assumptions are overly pessimistic, your valuation will be overly low. So this one is mainly driven by assumptions. Company comparable, so this one is reflected. So this one too can also be low. If let's say there's a recession in the country. Let's say there's a recession or something is happening in another part of the world. Look at what happened like in the equities market, I think some weeks back. The whole trade war tension in America and the rest. Most investors are not really comfortable investing in emerging markets like Nigeria because they feel there are lots of risk. And then global trade tension, every investor is just anxious. Money. What would they do? They come to emerging markets like Nigeria. Mostly portfolio investors are usually the ones that invest most in Nigerian equities. So when they are anxious like that or they don't feel comfortable with their money in any place, what they do is they do what? They sell. It go be in Nigeria. So when they sell, what happens? The value, the prices of stocks, they go down. So if the price of a stock goes down, what do you think would happen to equity value? Equity value go down. If equity value goes down, what will happen to enterprise value? So if enterprise value goes down, what would happen to the multiple or the value you get from comparables? Exactly. So in a recessionary period where most companies are experiencing difficulties, or say 2016, where the cost of sales of most manufacturing companies were skyrocketing and it was mad. Most of their shares, like people were just selling it off. So if you were to do a valuation in that period of time, the company comparables will most likely give you a lower valuation. Because you saw the way we linked everything now. So there's not just one answer, but most of the times, precedent transactions, they produce the highest valuation because of the control premium built into it. This one can go either way. This one can be the lowest and be the highest, based on your assumptions. So we are through with relative valuation. So we know company comparables, we know precedent transactions. Now let's look at a DCF. Who can just briefly explain what a DCF is? Discounted cash flow. Discounted cash flow. What analysis? That's a DCF. Yeah. So who wants to explain what a DCF is to the class? DCF.
DCF analysis means that
Okay.
the value of the company is basically itself future cash flow discounted back to the present.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried. So you mentioned future cash flows. Who else wants to try? Future cash flows. Who else wants to try? DCF. You have to really know DCF. It's very, very testable. Very, very, very testable. Oh yeah, future cash flows. What else? Yeah, that's what it said. Yeah. Well, any addition? Why are you guys laughing now? You tried. talk, you won't talk. If talk, now you are laughing at him. Don't mind them, Jerry. What else? What else? Is this just all that is involved in a DCF? This can't be all now. People should try it. Huh? Yes, so you look at the rates. What do we call it? Okay. Nice. What does WAC mean? What else? What else in a DCF? Thank you. TV. What else? Forecast period. What else? So that is captured. Yeah. What else? Thank you. Who said it? Growth rate. Nice. Any other thing? Huh? Yeah, so it falls under future factors. Yeah, so this is pretty much all you need, I think, in a DCF. So if someone asks you, can you tell me about, or they ask you, how do you value a company? And you tell them, you can value a company using a discounted cash flow. Fine, so how do you value a company using a discounted cash flow? What is the logic behind the discounted cash flow? So the very first thing is, you have to know that in a discounted cash flow analysis, what you're pretty much trying to do is look at the business at a very fundamental level. You're trying to look at it very intrinsically. So you're trying to estimate the worth of a business, Abby, based on the cash flows that business will generate for a certain number of periods and forevermore. And those cash flows, those future cash flows the company would generate, you're trying to find out what those future cash flows are worth today. And then you're also trying to find out about this terminal value. So you can't forecast, you can't create a forecast till eternity. It's not visible. So usually you would have a forecast period, and then you'd have a terminal value. So you're trying to get this terminal value. So assuming our forecast period, for example, now is 5 years. Say 5 years. At the end of 5 years, what would the business be worth? That is the terminal value at point T, at T5. Now, what is the terminal value of the business at point T5 today? So you get the present value of the terminal value. So you get the present value of what? Present value of what? Forecasted cash flows, Abby? And then you get the present value of what? The terminal value. And then you add it together, you get what? What do you get? No. What would you get? What are we trying to do? We're trying to get what? So you get an enterprise value or an equity value? Yes, nice one. Enterprise value, equity value. Equity, raise up your hand. Well, yeah, now if it's equity value, raise up your hand. If it's equity value, raise up your hand. Be confident, different. If it's equity value, raise up your hand. Oh yeah, now if it's enterprise value, raise up your hand. If it's so the rest, people don't even know what to do. See, you have to be very confident if you want to get this internship. If it is equity value, own it with your chest. Raise up your hand. Equity value. If it is enterprise value, oh, so if you're husband and wife. If it's enterprise value, raise up your hand. Oh, nice. Okay. So husband and wife, Olodos. So what do you get? You get the enterprise value. Why is it enterprise value? Why is it not equity value? So those that said enterprise value, why is it enterprise value?
One reason why I feel it in enterprise value, because you're using WACC, you're not using...
No, what is WACC?
That's weighted average.
Cost of capital. Yeah, you could look at it from you could actually look at it there. And what you're looking at is what? You're using cash flows. How do you get cash flows? What cash flows are you using? What cash flows do you use in your DCF analysis? You use what they call free cash flows. How do you get your free cash flows? So these are all the things they would ask you. So they could ask you, okay, so can you walk me through how you get from, so can you walk me through how you get to free cash flows in your DCF analysis? Who wants to take a stab at that? Who wants to try? How do you get free cash flows? So FCF means what? Free cash flows. And what exactly is a free cash flow? cash flow that is free, Abby. Yeah, it makes sense, logical.
You get free cash flow using the EBITDA.
EBITDA, yep, I think you can go through the EBITDA. Okay.
EBITDA plus that's the any person tax versus debt.
Wait. So earnings before interest and tax. So you are saying,
You add your debt.
and that gives you EBITDA. Okay.
Sorry, depreciation plus amortization.
Yeah, so that's EBITDA.
Yeah, so you also add changes in debt. Changes in what?
So you are saying plus working capital.
Then
Okay.
Debt.
Debt.
No.
No, that's not debt.
You don't cash.
Are you trying to gamble me? Oh yeah. What else? Capital expenditure. Thank you. That's capex. So capex. What else? So let me just help you guys. So I'd advise you start with EBIT. So to get your free cash flow, what exactly is a free cash flow, or what exactly are free cash flows? So free cash flow is that cash flow that is available to a business after it has taken care of things it needs to take care of. So the business has paid salaries, the business has invested, the business has working capital. So working capital, it changes in working capital. So now it can be plus or minus, usually minus. So working capital, that's where you have current assets, things it needs to generate revenue on a day-to-day basis, that's taking it out. Things it needs to generate revenue in the future in the form of capex, that's taking it out. What you have left is what you call free cash flows. So free cash flow is like the cash flow available to the business after it has taken care of everything it needs to take care of, pretty much in a very basic level. That's the free cash flow. So we using the free cash flow is to that's why like DCF can be very, very conservative, and that's why DCF, you see, it strips out all this nonsense. So this company now, what is it? Subtract capex, blah blah blah. So it looks at it at a very, very fundamental level. We're looking at actual cash. So if we were to look at this company's bank account, what actual cash are we going to get there today? Yes, you want to buy an equipment, remove it, buy the equipment. You want to pay salaries, everything, working capital, pay it. Now this one now, there's still something you do there. So it's very, very fundamental. It like strips out a lot of things, a lot of noise, and just concentrates on what? Cash. Cash is what? King. So that's what it looks. So the approach that you advise, you can actually start with EBITDA, but there's nothing there. What I would advise is you start with EBIT. So earning what? Before interest and tax. So what are we trying to get now? All this, what are we trying to get? We're trying to get free cash flow. Thank you. So you start with EBIT. EBIT is what? Earnings before interest and tax, Abi? Now, you take away the tax on EBIT. So you subtract tax. Tax on EBIT. So the normal business tax rate, the tax rate you apply to net income, you apply it here. So when you deduct tax from EBIT, what do you get? You get, have you heard of no part? So this is what you get. Net operating profit loss adjusted for tax. Yes, no plat. So this is what you get. So when you get this, you now profit and loss adjusted for tax, or after tax adjusted for tax, whichever.
So we apply the tax rate on EBIT.
Yes, you apply the tax rate on EBIT. You get net operating profit and loss after tax. If you want to make it very easy, just tell the interviewer. So how you get they'll ask you how do you get to free cash flow from revenue. This one is abbreviated. I'm assuming you guys know how we got this. Abi? Sales less cost of sales, you get gross profit. Gross profit, you remove what? Operating expenses, you get EBIT. So now we get the after tax EBIT. Abi? By applying the tax rate. So you don't get after tax, if you want to make it very, very easy. The tax rate is 40%. After tax of this would be 60% of EBIT. Or to make it very basic, you get your EBIT, you apply your tax rates to EBIT, what you get is your net operating profit and loss adjusted for tax. Now, when you have your no plots, what do? You add back non-cash charges. What are the two primary non-cash charge? So you have depreciation and you have what? Amortization. So you add back what? Depreciation and what? Amortization.
Why are we removing tax?
Why are you removing tax?
Sorry, why are we? Yeah,
why are we applying tax here? Are we? Okay. Any other question? So yeah, so you add back depreciation and what? Amortization, and then you take away what? So you have plus or minus changes in working capital, and you have capex. You take away capex. What you get is your what? What do you get? Free cash flows. Nice. This is like a very nice place to start. So you have to always get your free cash flows. Now, if we start with EBITDA, can anyone explain how this would turn out to be? Yeah, so if we start with EBITDA, you can also start with EBITDA. It's just about changing and changing here. This one just breaks it down very well. Ask me your questions, though. What's capex? Capital expenditure. So capex, capital. You know, I'm trying to say, what is the cash they have after they've settled everything they need to settle? So companies need to buy capex. So after they've taken away capital expenditure, what do they have left? So capex is capital expenditure. WC is what? Working capital. Working capital. Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. So my first question is working capital.
Yep.
Is a particular.
So it's plus or minus change in working capital.
Yeah.
So if you remember in your cash flow statement from operations, if there's an increase in working capital, what do?
There's an increase in.
What does an increase in so working capital? What is working capital? Current assets, Abi, minus what? Current liabilities. If there's an increase in current assets in your cash flow from operations, what does that mean? There's an increase in assets. Is cash leaving the business or coming out?
Leaving the business.
Cash is leaving the business. If there's an increase in liabilities, cash leaving or cash is coming in. So when you find the changes in that, so if cash is coming in, you do what? You add. If cash is going out, you deduct. That's why it's plus or minus changes in working capital.
Then I also want to ask.
Okay.
Okay, after arriving at this answer.
Okay.
When do we factor in retained earnings? Because
Retained earnings in free cash flows.
Like, okay, you know, after
you know retained earnings, you get retained earnings from what? Net income. Abi?
Yeah.
Are we working with net income? We're working with EBIT. Why are we working with EBIT? And why are we adding depreciation, amortization? Because we know companies do mago. So we are never going to use this. Because you know this doesn't give a true reflection. There are lots of accounting brouhaha in that stuff. So we start with EBIT. And that's why we're applying tax here, because every company must be taxed. So that cash flow must reflect, it must be an after cash, it must be an after tax cash flow. Whenever you're forecasting, whenever you're working with discounted cash flow analysis, the cash flow you're working with is an after tax cash flows. That's when you're doing capital budgets and so on. You're trying to find net present value, you're trying to find what else? You're doing net present value, you're doing IRR and what have you. It's usually after cash tax flows. That's why we applied this tax rate here. If we are using net income, tax is already factored into it, but we're not using net income, we agreed. So we're using EBIT. So fine. So now we have free cash flows. We can now work. So this is where the work starts.
How many about levered and unlevered free cash flow?
Exactly. Thank you very much. So is this a levered or an unlevered free cash flow? Oh yeah, husband and wife. Levered or unlevered? Is this unlevered or levered? And how do you know if it's levered or unlevered? This is what? Is this levered or unlevered? What is levered? So levered has what? Unlevered has what? Unlevered does not have debt. People are confusing me. Unlevered. So it usually has to do with, yeah, they are right actually. So it has to do with whether debt holders have been paid. So if debt holders have been paid, that cash flow is levered. It means, you can check, someone can confirm. But I think that's what so unlevered means debt holders have been paid. Yeah, so that cash flow is levered already. I think something like that. Then unlevered means it's available to everybody. That's why, so you know whether we are dealing with unlevered or levered. This one now, we are starting from EBIT. So this is unlevered free cash flow. It's still available. It's available. What we've been dealing with is what is EBIT before interest and tax. And this means this is cash flow available to what? Everybody. So it has not been levered. It has not been, the effect of debt has not been factored into it. So yeah, it's unlevered. So this cash flow is what? Unlevered. So usually what you want to get is, you want to get a levered cash flow. So when you get an unlevered cash flow, costs, so now we have to come to this. So we've agreed this is what? Unlevered. Yeah? Unlevered meaning the effect, so this cash flow is available to everybody. That's what it means. Fine. How do you know if the cash flow is levered or unlevered? It depends on what you are starting with to get this cash, to get this free cash flows. We are starting with EBIT, meaning this cash is available to everybody. I'm very sure there are ways you could, so there's a way you could start with net income, adjust for all the nonsense in net income, that will give you levered, because it already reflects debt payment. But don't let's complicate it. Sure, it depends, yeah. So yeah, most of the times what you get is unlevered free cash flow. Fine. So now we know how to get free cash flow, Abby? Yes, so this is what we are forecasting. You know, we said discounted cash flow analysis is about what? Trying to estimate the value of a company, the value of a business based on the cash flows. Now we figured out what cash flows we are talking about. What cash flow? Free cash flows. We know how to get the free cash flows, Abby. We start from EBIT. We apply tax because every business must pay tax. We get the no plat. We add back non-cash charges, depreciation and amortization. We adjust for changes in working capital and we deduct capex. We get unlevered free cash flow. Why is this unlevered? Because we started off with EBIT, and EBIT is cash flow available to everybody. So now, DCF is trying to get the present value of forecasted cash flows as of today. So our forecast period now is what? Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, right? Abi? So we are going to forecast. So this is the free cash flow, Abi. This is how you get free cash flow. So what you basically do in a DCF is you forecast these cash flows over the forecast period. Do you understand?
But, so what we are supposed to use the unlevered free cash flow?
I think so. No, I want to it. That's why I say I think so. I'm giving myself room in case I'm wrong. But most of the time, this is what you use. And not really what you use. So this is how it works. You get an unlevered free cash flow. Abi, how does it work? Cost of equity, cost of debt, reliever. So this is an unlevered free cash flow, meaning we'll get to it when we come to work, I think. Yeah, I think so. Let me see, beta. So under beta, you have levered beta and levered beta. So yeah, this is unlevered free cash flow. So you're just going to use this. So what you now do is to forecast this free cash flow for a period of time, usually 5 years. Now, you can do it different ways. You can forecast free cash flows, or most of the times you don't forecast. So all this is very easy to explain on Excel. This is not, you can forecast this if you want to forecast this. You make assumptions for how it will grow year in, year out. But usually what you do on an Excel sheet is everything flows. So if you want to forecast, for the forecast period, before you get to the DCF sheet, you'd have had income statements. There'll be historicals for 3 years, 2 years. So on the income statement, there'll be historicals, Abi, for 2 to 3 years. Balance sheets, there'll be historicals for what, 2 to 3 years. And then your cash flow statement, you'd have, usually you're not using historical information in cash flow. So the cash flow statement would have been forecasted for 5 years. Abi? Now the way it works usually is this income statement. You know you'd have EBIT in your income statement, Abi? Yeah. Fine, you'd have EBIT. You'd have what? You'd have pretty much all this. On your income statement, for example, historical years, the first historical year, your EBIT is what? 10 naira or 100. Second historical year, your EBIT is what? 120. Third historical year, your EBIT is what? 130. Do you get this? Okay, the marker is fading. So, EBIT is what? First historical year, 100. Second historical year, 120. Third historical year, 130. Nice, Abi? So what else? In your historicals, too, in your income statement, you'd have information on depreciation, amortization. Let's say it has been stable. Depreciation over the past, depreciation and amortization over the past historical years has been what? 20, 20, 20. Abi? What else? Your working capital, your capex within your balance sheet. All I'm trying to get at now is that you have had historical information for your income statement, all of this. So in your income statement, you'd also forecast. Forecast meaning you're going to make assumptions as to how all those line items will grow over the forecast period. So if you're making assumptions for sales, so you're saying sales is going to grow by 5% every year. So if sales on the last historical year is what, 200, and you're saying it's going to grow by 5% every year, that means sales, the very first forecast period, your sales will be what? 200 plus what? 1.05. Abi? The next one will be what? Second year will be what? 200 plus what? 1.05 raised to power what? 2. Like that, like that. You'd also have made assumptions for cost of sales. You'd have found the relationship. So with cost of sales, you find the relationship. With cost of sales, what is the relation between cost of sales and sales? So cost of sales is what? 20% of what? No, this is what? This is depreciation. So let's assume that cost of sales is what? Say 50 or 60% of sales. Abi? Yeah. Does that make sense? So you assume that cost of sales is 60% of, you'd have found out what the percentage of cost of sales is. Because revenue is different for each year. Your cost of sales will be different. The proportion of your cost of sales to your revenues will be different. But at least you'd have found out what the relationship is. Say the first historical year, cost of sales to revenue is what? 30%. The second year, cost of sales is what? 40%. The fifth year, cost of sales is what? Cost of sales is what? 50%. Abi? If you are creating your forecast, if you are forecasting in your income statement, you can, it's safe to, so if you are forecasting in your income statement, it's safe to assume that this is the last historical year we have, Abi? And cost of sales is what? 50% of revenue. So we've assumed that revenue is growing by what? 5%. We would safely assume that cost of sales will remain 50% of revenue. So all you have to do is plug in a formula in cost of sales. So once you get sales, your formula is already imputed saying that revenue is what? Your cost of sales is what? 50% of revenue. So if this is the first forecast period, if your revenue is 200, the formula has automatically calculated our cost of sales is what? 100. This is what? You said 210, Abi? Your formula has automatically calculated that cost of sales is what? 50% of that. So you are forecasting. So all of this, they flow from sales. All I'm trying to make you guys understand is to try and see how this EBIT is. Because we said we are trying to what? Get the present value of future cash flows. We've determined that the future cash flows are what? Free cash flows. We've also seen how we get free cash flows. We get it from EBIT. So this EBIT figure changing every year is what will make the free cash flows change. I don't know if you guys get. Do you understand? Are you sure you understand that? Just follow my line of thought. So the thing is, the standard way to get your free cash flows for each of the forecast period. Fine, you can get for the last historical year, Abi, and then you can just assume that's like a rookie way to do it. You can just assume that this free cash flow would grow by 10% every year. So if you are saying this is your free cash flow, what did we get as free cash flow? Let's say we got 100 as free cash flow last historical year. Would assume it to grow by what? By what? 10%. So this is the first one, 100. The next one will be 105, like that for the 5 years. So we have the future cash flows for each of those forecast period. The first one is what? 100. Let's say the next one is what? 105. The next one is what? 110. The next one is what? 115. The next one is what? 120. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have future cash flows. Like these are forecasted cash flows. They've not happened. We are forecasting. So we forecasted these cash flows. Abi? We forecasted them. And then, now that you have the forecasted cash flows, all you have to do is what? Discount these cash flows. Abi? We said your DCF is trying to do what? Estimate the value of a business based on future cash flows and based on the terminal value. You need to get the present value of future cash flows. These are future cash flows. All you have to do now is to discount this by WACC. So your WACC, there's a whole formula to it, but all you have to do is divide this by WACC. So let's assume my WACC is 20%. So you divide this by, this is the first forecast period. So this will be divided by 1 plus 0.2 raised to power 1. This will be 1 plus 0.2 raised to power 2. This will be 1 plus 0.2 raised to power 3. This will be 1 plus 0.2 raised to power 4. This will be 1.2 raised to power what? 5. So once you discount these future cash flows by WACC, you get the present value of cash flows. So you get the present value of cash flows the first forecast period, you get the present value second forecast period, you get the present value third forecast period, you get the present value fourth forecast period, you get the present value fifth forecast period. Abi? And then what do? You sum that up to give you the total present value of what? Future cash flows. Abi? So now you have this part of the equation. How do you get this terminal value? So the terminal value, like there are different formulas, there are different ways to look at it. So there are different formulas exactly. So you have you can use the Gordon's growth model, or you can use the multiple method. So the Gordon's growth model, there's a formula, and the formula is something like this. You look at the last forecasted free cash flow. So the last forecasted free cash flow, that will be what year? What cash flow are we going to use? Year 5. So it will be free cash flow of year 5 of the last forecast period multiplied by what? 1 plus what? 1 plus growth rate divided by what? K minus G. What is K? K is exactly, K could be WACC or cost of equity. So WACC minus growth rate. So you use the free cash flow of the last forecasted period. That is what? 120 plus, you'd also have to, so how are you going to get the growth rate? So there are many things now. So how do you get growth rate? And then how do you get WACC? So when you get that, you get the terminal value of that business. So that terminal value of the business, you now do what? What do you do to that? You discount it. What would you discount it by? The last, that 1 plus 0.3 raised to power 5. That's the discount factor. Did you guys do finance in school? Present value, all those kind of things. So this discount factor shouldn't be so strange. But the logic is very, very simple. The class is extremely quiet. Yeah, this year is very technical, that's the thing. And I'm trying to look for how to make it very easy. But just follow me, I'll still recap. Yeah? Are we saying, no, nobody's going to ask you on Excel. They're just going to ask you off the top of your head. I don't know, I'm not Talentmine. Yeah, I'm Talentmine, boy. I'm not Talentmine. Exactly. So if you said, oh, come and teach them how to do it on, then no problem. So, where was I? Yes, we are trying to look for the terminal value, Abi. So we are saying you can use it, you can get the terminal value in 2 ways. You can use the Gordon's growth model, and you can use the multiples method. Now the Gordon's growth model, you just need to know the formula. What they will ask you, so you are telling them Gordon's growth model. Gordon's growth model, meaning we get the last forecasted period's cash flow. You grow that cash flow by 1 plus the growth rate. So your assumption here now is that this cash flow is going to grow indefinitely by this growth rate. So you divide that by the cost of capital, WACC, minus the growth rate. It gives you the terminal value. So this terminal value now, we know is the terminal value till a year, like till eternity. Now, how do you get the present value of this terminal value? You discount it back. And what do you discount it back with? You discount it with WACC. What WACC? It will be WACC raised to power like 50. Since we are looking at 50. And then you get this. You add the two together, you get your enterprise value. So on a very, very high level, this is DCF. So the complexities with DCF is that you need to make lots of assumptions. So right now you need to, so now we're going to talk about WACC. Now you see where we start making assumptions too in WACC and what else. But this is just it really. Exactly, and what rates to use and all those things. So those are the assumptions. Now let's look at WACC. So you guys understand on the high level. So on the high level, if anybody asks you, so tell me about discounted cash flow analysis. What you should say is, so the discounted cash flow analysis is a valuation method that tries to estimate the value of a business by taking into consideration the future cash flows of this business and the terminal value of this business. So what you do in a nutshell is to forecast cash flows for a forecast period, get the present value of those forecasted cash flows, also get the present value of the terminal value, because we are assuming that this business is going to be worth something when it finally decides to shut down. So what is it worth when it decides to shut down? Get the present value of that today. And how do you get the present value? By discounting with WACC. So we sum up the present value of the forecasted future cash flows to the present value of the terminal value, and that gives us an enterprise value. In a nutshell, that's just this here. That's just what you are trying to do here. And now, they'll now start asking you questions. Oh, so you're saying future cash flows, cash flows, cash flows. So, can you walk me through how you get to free cash flows in your DCF analysis? So you just start. So how you get to free cash flows? First off, we'll take away cost of sales from sales. That gives us gross profits. We take away the operating expenses from gross profits. That gives us earnings before interest and tax. So we apply the tax rate of the business on the earnings before interest and tax. That gives us no tax, net operating profit and loss adjusted for tax. Now, because there are lots of non-cash items, we add those back. Depreciation, amortization. We adjust for changes in working capital. We deduct capital expenditure. That gives us free cash flow, unlevered free cash flow. Now you've answered that question. That's like a typical question. So let me see, there's something I have here. 6. Yeah? Doesn't understand unlevered. So just take away just ignore unlevered. Just know that this is free cash flow. Oh yeah, there's still shit. Yeah, so the thing is, just don't complicate things with this unlevered. Who even mentioned unlevered and levered? See, don't complicate yourself. That's the thing. Nobody asked me whether it was levered or unlevered. They know you're not. For God's sake, people are in school. Fine, if you know it is good actually, it's really not rocket science. But just take it out. Just don't say unlevered. Unlevered. What are unlevered cash flows? If I'm interviewing and you're using all those technical terms, I assume you know them. You wouldn't just come to my interview room and want to start showing yourself and you don't know what you want to show yourself with. You mentioned unlevered cash flow. Can you tell me the difference between unlevered and unlevered cash flows? And can you tell me how you applied levered and unlevered and all those kind of things you don't even want to start with? So just ignore this, even though this is an unlevered cash flow for the reasons we gave. Unlevered meaning the effect of debt has not been factored into it. So it's unlevered. You've not removed the interest. That is why it is the way it is. So now, yeah, does anybody ask any other question? Oh yeah, I said I wanted to check something. So I was talking about, this is a typical question. Walk me through a basic DCF. A DCF values a company based on the present value of its cash flows and the present value of its terminal value. First thing you do is what? You project the company's financials using assumptions for revenue growth. That's what I was trying to do here. If you remember, where's that stuff? This stuff. So you always have to forecast. So you do what? First you project out the company's financials using assumptions for revenue growth, expenses, and working capital. Then you get down to what? Free cash flow for each year. That's what we're trying to do. Free cash flows for each year. And then, which you then sum up and discount to a net present value, exactly, based on your discount rates, which is usually WACC. What else? Then once you have the present value of the cash flows, you determine the company's terminal value using either the multiples method or the Gordon's growth model. After that, what do? Finally you add the two together to determine the company's enterprise value. So that's just it. When they ask you walk me through a basic DCF, that's what they want you to tell them. Did everybody get it? Sorry. So the very first thing you do is to do what? You forecast a company's financials. So when you're saying you are forecasting a company's financials, you are forecasting a company's financials making assumptions for revenue growth, expenses, working capital, capex. So once you forecast that, what do? You get what? Yeah, you get free cash flow, exactly. So you get your free cash flows, Abby. So you get your free cash flows for each of the forecast period. When you get your free cash flows for each of the forecast period, what do? You discount it to now, to the present, to get the present value. How do you discount it? You discount it using what? WACC. You discount it using your discount rate, which is usually WACC. Now, you now sum the present values of your future cash flows because there's a forecast period. So there'll be a present value as at year 1, present value as at year 2. So now sum up the present values. It gives you the present value as at now. Now you've figured out this one. So with this here, just always know that free cash flows, terminal value. You need to get the present value of free cash flows. You need to get the present value of terminal value. Now I've walked you through how you handle the free cash flows. Now your terminal value, you can get your terminal value using 2 methods. The Gordon's growth, so let me write that in full. So Gordon's growth model and your what multiples method. So you can get your terminal value using these 2 formulas or these 2 methods, Gordon's growth model and the multiples method. So Gordon's growth model has a formula, a standard formula. All you need to do is just remember that formula, and this is the formula. And the formula is not so hard to cram. Just know that with the formula, you're going to make use of the free cash flow at the end of the forecasted period. You grow that cash flow by growth rate, that's 1 plus G, and you divide it by your discount rate, which is WACC, minus your growth rate. That gives you a terminal value. But that terminal value is at that point in time, whenever the business ends a bit, but you need to know the value as at now. So you also discount this by your discount rates. So the present value you get from the terminal value, you add it to the present value you get from your cash flows, and that gives you the enterprise value. All we are trying to estimate with the DCF is how much is this business worth, and all we are trying to do is estimate the value of this business based on cash flows. Yeah? Yes. To get to a terminal value, yes. Gordon's growth model, multiples model. But you want to talk about the multiples. So the multiples is usually, so the multiples you might be given. So take for example, I might tell you that most businesses terminal value is like 10 times EBITDA. So it's very simple. Multiples, you apply a multiple to your last forecasted period's cash flow. So they could tell you that, or you could tell the interviewer that you are going to assume a multiple of 7 times based on like industry standard. So industry standard is that the terminal value is 7 times the last year forecasted cash flow. So you apply that last year forecasted cash flow you get to the multiple. That gives you your terminal value. Now that terminal value, you still do what? You need to get the present value. Don't always forget. You discount it back to now using what? Your discount rate, which is WACC, and then you sum the 2 of them together. So this one is technical. All this formula, but this one is straightforward. Get an exit multiple, apply the exit multiple to your last year free cash flow. It gives you a figure. That's the terminal value. Discount that terminal value to now using your what? WACC. That gives you the present value. Add that present value to your present value of cash flows. That gives you your enterprise value. Yeah. So the multiples is very simple. It's just what we've been doing in relative valuation. You get a multiple, apply it to a line item. But this one, there's no line item. What we are going to apply it to is what? What have we been working with? Free cash flows. So we'll apply whatever multiple we are going to assume to, or whatever the industry, they're usually industry standard. So whatever the industry standard is, we apply the multiple to the last year forecasted free cash flow. No, so this is just multiple. The multiple that is known in the industry multiplied by last year forecasted free cash flow. That's all. No EBITDA, no nothing. That's the EBITDA feeds into this in a way. So that's, I know it's very, very confusing, but this is just it on a very high level. Yeah. Yeah, so this is enterprise value now. So you have so you've gotten the enterprise value, Abby. You'll still know the line items of the business. So still your standard relative. So EV, so this is what the company is worth really. So this is it. This is the enterprise value. So if you now want to get a multiple from this enterprise value, compare this enterprise value to one line item in the business. So if you want to know what this company is worth and you want to make it a multiple, so say this business has EBITDA of, we've worked on this. So say the business has EBITDA of say 200, and the enterprise value is, say the enterprise value is what? 500. This business multiple is simply 500 over what? 200, and you get the multiple. But the whole idea of a DCF is to get this enterprise value. Because this enterprise value drives whatever multiple you are going to get. This is very important. And that's what a DCF does, yeah? Starting with EBITDA. So just try and play around with this. So you know EBITDA. So what you still get at the end of the day, you still get EBITDA. It's just that this tax here. So look at now. This is EBIT. This is less tax on EBIT. That gives you what? No plat. This no plat is more or less after tax EBIT, Abi? And then you do what? You add depreciation and amortization. So this already here is EBITDA. So if we were to start with EBITDA, Abi? So you'd have EBITDA here, Abi? You deduct depreciation and amortization. That will give you EBIT. You multiply that EBIT. So this is starting with EBIT. Now let's start with EBITDA. So EBITDA will be something like EBITDA, Abi? Take away minus depreciation and amortization. That gives you what? That gives you what? EBIT. Abi? Now tax on EBIT. Deduct tax on EBIT. Abi? That gives you what? No plat. Abi? Add back depreciation and amortization. Well, the whole logic is you don't want to apply the tax on depreciation. You don't apply tax on depreciation. You apply it on EBIT, any profit proxy. So that's just it. And then you, with no plat, you add back depreciation, add the deduct changes in working capital, deduct capex, you get your free cash flow. So that's either way you could do it. Yeah.
If I want to value the company using comparables, that's using an enterprise value multiple. I can't get that multiple without doing the DCF, right?
No, you can't. If you have the equity value, you have debt figure, you have cash figure, you can get your EV. DCF just uses a different method of getting EV. They ignore equity value. We don't care what the market thinks this business is worth. Based on cash flows, what the fuck does this business worth? Exactly. Pardon my language. That's just it. So that's just it. You're just trying to get what a business worth based on its cash flow. How much cash does this business generate? Let's deal with just cash. Forget that the market thinks that Dangote is the market leader. We don't care. How much cash does this man have? For all we know, he could be running his business based on debt. All those ones doesn't concern us here. Enterprise value, cash flow is like, do you see debt anywhere? No. So, just cash. So once you get your enterprise value, then you can value any business. Apply this to a line item, you get your multiple. Now let's look at how to, so yes, so I talked on Gordon's growth model. Possible questions they would ask you here. Yeah, so they might ask you, when would it be appropriate to use a Gordon's growth model as opposed to a multiples method? You can tell me. You can just think about when to use a Gordon's growth model as opposed to a multiples model. Just think about it. Well, I'm waiting on. When would you use, or why would you use Gordon growth model rather than the multiples model? How? Why would you use this? Why do you think we would use multiples to Gordon's? Why do you think we'll use Gordon's to multiples? Just try. Okay, let me help. So most times you use a Gordon's growth model. So first off, use multiples in industries like banking. Why do you use multiples? Because it's very easy to get past multiples. Pretty much, that's just the logic. So use multiples when there are like lots of multiples you could use. As simple as that comes. So when you have lots of, in banking especially, you usually have lots of information on multiples, like past multiples you could use. You wouldn't use you might not want to use a Gordon's growth model. Why? Because it's very, very difficult to estimate growth rate. You remember the formula for Gordon's growth model? Look at it. There are lots of assumptions here. I'm making assumption for how this free cash flows will grow. 1 plus G. G is growth rate. Who told you this cash flow is going to grow by G? So you're more or less guesstimating or something. I'm just trying to estimate. For all you know, this cash flow might not grow by this growth rate. So that might be one reason why you wouldn't want to use. If you have like lots of multiples, you don't use multiples over Gordon's growth model. And most times in banking, you use the multiples method because you have readily available multiples. But Gordon's growth model, it's very sensitive to the assumptions, growth rates, kind of thing. That's why you'd use Gordon's as opposed to multiples. Now, if you don't have information on on multiples, what would you use logically? Gordon's. So just use this one to answer this one. Why would you use Gordon's? Use Gordon's if there are no available information on multiples, on exit multiples. Why would you use multiple methods? You use multiple methods when there are lots of information on exit multiples, exactly. Because using a Gordon's growth model will be very, very sensitive to the assumptions for growth rates. No one knows for certain by how much our free cash flows will grow by. So since we have readily available information on multiples, we'll use multiples method, short and simple. So that's possible questions they'll ask you here. Why this, why that? Now, how do we get growth rate? That's another question they'll ask. Yeah?
How do you get the money?
So in an industry, you'd usually have terminal value or exit multiples. That's what you use. It's just about searching online. So most industries, they have like, I don't know, this is not London or the US. There's usually a service provider that has those information. All you just do there is to go there and check the multiples. And then in Nigeria, yeah, you should also be able to find, I don't know of any, but you should also be able to find. That's why if you don't get the multiple, use what? Gordon's growth. So the problem with Gordon's growth now is, what would you use for the growth rates? How do you get the growth rates in Gordon's growth model? Who wants to try? What do you think we use as the growth rate? Yeah, who wants to try? What do you think we use as the growth rate in Gordon's growth model? Who wants to try? Dividend has been. Yeah, that's yeah. Most times you try to use something very conservative, like the growth rate of a country's GDP. So that is something you can use. So it's usually higher than what they say is that normally or ideally this growth rate should be higher than the inflation rate, but it should be less than the country's it should be less than the country's nominal growth rate. Now, what is the logic behind that? The logic is a business should be able to grow itself by the amount of inflation. Meaning, if inflation is increasing, the economy. If Apple grows more than now, don't take that comment on the face of it. But if you look at Apple's growth rates, because it's a growth company, like their growth rates might be like higher than a country's current growth rate. But in the long run, since this growth rate is to estimate the value of a business till infinity, ceteris paribus, yes, I have to invoke that. All things held constant, it simply means that in the long term, that company cannot grow more than what a country will grow by till infinity. Either competition sets in, reduces the competitive advantage the business has, either there are changes in taste and preferences of consumers. Maybe we no longer like iPhones. Your growth rate won't be the same again. Maybe we no longer like laptops. I have laptops now, they're not the instant. It's now you start touching the air, that's the new one. So in the long run, a company's growth rate cannot be more than a country's growth. You can't grow more than the ecosystem that is enabling you. That is the logic. So ideally, this growth rate should slightly be less than inflation rates because the business has to be competitive. You have to be able to transfer price. But it should not be more than the growth rate. So if they are just asking you, what growth rate would you use? Just explain it like that and then just say you'd grow this free cash flow by the country's nominal growth rate, assuming that the country can grow by more than. So that's a very, very conservative estimate. Because if you look at most countries' growth rates now, it's around maybe 2 to 10%. It's never more than 10%. So that's it, yeah.
So, I don't know if that applies in most countries, but for Nigeria, for instance.
Yeah, inflation is more than even growth rate. So funny enough, when I had my interview for Bank of America, the technical one in Ghana, he asked me this question. And it got me too. I had read it. They said grades by more than inflation, but less than growth rate. I didn't know what I was doing was nonsense. As it applies to Nigeria. What I asked me was, what is Nigeria's inflation rate? Nigeria's inflation rate there, I think around 2016, was somewhat high. I think that was when the whole FX scarcity. It was around 15% or something. What is our growth rate? What was our growth rate there? Yeah, it was negative. So I was just confused. I didn't even know how to start. What did I not even start by? How did I even say? I didn't even know I did it. I should have said one figure. So yeah, there are countries like that where the inflation rate is mostly emerging markets and all these messed up countries. How do you answer that? Pray you don't get that question. Or just make assumptions. I mean, you're allowed to. That's the thing with all these interviews. Make assumptions and defend it. Can tell them that we're in the recession now, our growth rate is negative. But over the past 5 years, Nigeria has been growing by, on average, say 3% a year. So I would assume that this recession is temporary. They will find a solution to the FX situation. So my assumption is that Nigeria will continue to grow by this 3%. And you defend it. And you leave that one. You can't just stay there. Nobody knows. He himself is asking, he doesn't know what Nigeria will grow by. It's just, Nigeria has been growing by 3% on average for the past 5 or 10 years. You feel fine. The country is in like a mess right now, but with time we'll recover. We've actually recovered a bit. So you feel growth will return to 3% a year on average. There'll be years where Nigeria will grow by say 15%. There'll be years where they'll grow by 5%. There'll be years where they'll enter a recession. But overall, since this is long term till infinity, you feel it would even out at 3% on average. So you use that to grade. That's how you answer growth rate. They'll ask you, what would you use for your growth rate? You can't escape that question if they ask you this. Anything this year, those assumptions, they'll ask you and so growth rate now, you know what to use. Forget the whole, it grows by more than inflation. That won't confuse you. Just use your country's GDP. And don't just use for a year, because if they ask you so for last year now, like you asked me now, I didn't even know. I didn't answer like this. If they ask you now for last year, what did you grow by? You're telling me minus. You now start to look stupid. They're like, no, I know we grew by minus something last year, but over the past 5 years, over the past 10 years, we've been growing by 6%. So I assume that this is temporary. The negative growth is temporary. It would return to 3%. So we've been able to tackle that one. Now, this is the next one we're going to. They're going to ask you, how did you get WAC? Because you even need WAC to discount. How do you get your WAC to discount? Now let's go to WAC. So WAC is what? Weighted average cost of capital. So this one also, you have to keep it very simple. I have to keep it very, very simple. Just like, I'd advise you just restrict your. So cost of capital, what do you guys understand by cost of capital? What do you understand by cost of capital?
The cost of borrowing to trend.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, cost of capital. So the company is funded by either what? Debt or what? Yes. So debt plus equity is what? The capital we are talking of. Abi? Now the cost of capital is, what is the cost of debt? What is cost of debt? And what is the what? Cost of equity. Let's start with cost of debt. First of all, always know that whenever you are defining cost of debt, it is usually on an after-tax basis. After what? After-tax basis for cost of debt. You also have to know what proportion debt is to equity. That is very important. You also have to know, because you're looking for the weighted average. What does weighted average mean? Weighted average cost of capital is the cost of capital of each component of capital in a company's in a company's capital structure, taking into account the relative or percentage share of that capital, or the proportion of capital. Did you guys get that? So cost of weighted average cost of capital is the cost of capital of a business, taking into consideration the proportion or the share of each type of capital in the capital structure. It's not hard. It's easier. Can I come again? Jesus, I'm not Jesus Christ now. I only come once. So yeah, that's just it. So the weighted average cost of capital, is the cost of capital of a business. Did everybody get that? The weighted average cost of capital is the cost of capital of a business, taking into consideration the proportion of each type of capital in the capital structure. Try and let it make sense in your head, and it's very easy. We are saying the company is funded by debt or equity, Abi. So a company might have what, $70 debt, it might have what, $30 equity. The total capital is what, 100. What is the proportion of debt in this? 7 over 10. That's what, 0.7. What is the proportion of equity? 0.3. Or sum up to 1. So when you're finding your weighted average cost of capital, you always have to apply the weight to it. So it will be 0.7 times cost of debt times 1 minus tax plus the weight of equity, 0.3 times cost of equity. So this is just it. That definition, this is it. This definition is saying that, marker, yeah. So can someone just tell her we need more marker? So what this definition is saying is that we're trying to keep it simple now. We're assuming that this company is funded by debt and by equity. You could also have preference shares here too. You'd have to account for that. Not very hard, it's very simple, like even the simplest. We're assuming that this company is funded by debt and equity. We're also assuming that there are different proportions of these two sources of capital. It can be 50-50, it can be 70-30 like we found out now. So it has 70 naira in debt, it has 30 naira in equity. What is the proportion? You find 0.7 and then you apply it to the cost of debt. And always note that the cost of debt is what? After tax cost of debt. That's why you're multiplying it by 1 minus the tax rate. And then the cost of equity. Now cost of debt they usually give you. Like it's usually very easy. Take for example, a company has a 10% 5-year bond. 5-year bond with a face value of say 100,000 naira. What is the cost of debt? This is the cost of debt. The company also has a tax rate of what? 40%. For our calculation here, what would it be? So this cost of debt was 0.1 times what? 1 minus tax rate, 0.6. So if we know the proportion, we'll multiply it. So that's what. So let's assume now that, so 0.7, Abi, times this, that'll give you the cost of debt. Plus cost of equity. Now cost of equity. So debt is very simple. We're done with cost of debt. That's just what you need to know. What you need to know. So how you know the cost of debt is all this stuff. So in the company's balance sheet or in the company's notes to the balance sheet, you hear that the company has debt of 1 billion naira. It has a 15% 5 billion naira debt. That 15% there is the cost. Because that's what the company has to pay. 15, that's what they like repay to the owners or what have you. 15% of the 15. So this is the cost. But we always deal with after-tax costs. Same way we deal with after-tax cash flows. So we always have to factor tax into it. So you just multiply that by 1 minus the tax rates. Cost of debt, you've sorted that out. Now equity is where it gets a bit complicated. Not complicated, interesting. So cost of equity, there are different ways you can get cost of equity. So there's a very popular one. There's what they call CAPM. The Capital Asset Pricing Model. Capital Asset Pricing Model. CAP model, yeah. Short for CAPM. Cost of equity. There's also the what? There's another one that's very easy. Yeah, exactly. There's also the dividend. Yeah, dividend or Gordon growth model. Yeah. There's also the dividend growth model. Or Gordon's. You could also use Gordon's here too. Growth model. Yeah, so cost of equity. So here cost of equity, you have the capital asset pricing model and you have dividend growth model or Gordon's growth model. So you could use Or dividend discount model, cost of equity. Yeah, I think you can do that. Yeah. So Gordon's growth model is also known as, it can also be known as dividend discount model. They all follow the same. They all follow the same. So with this one, it will be dividends. This dividends D0. So dividends as at this year plus 1 plus growth rate over what? Cost of equity. No, is it cost of or price P0 over P0? So this is also known as, yeah, you decide to grade. No, do you grade? Yeah, plus G, I think. The plus, thank you. So plus G. This is also D1 over P0 plus G. Exactly. So this is dividend discount model. So there are two ways you could get your cost of equity. And then these two ways depends on the question. So if you're writing one exam, it's the question that you use to know how you'd attempt it. But for your interviews, most of the time, what they want to hear is copy. But just to show that you also know other ones, you tell them, so this is it, risk-free rates. Now there's a problem. There's always a problem. What is your risk-free rate? What's used for your risk-free rate? Yeah, so return on government securities, like most preferably long-dated government securities. Beta, what is beta? Beta. Unlevered. Levered, this is what I like levered. This is where you see it. This is where they'll ask you very well. Unlevered beta. Levered beta. Yeah. So what is beta? Who knows what beta is? Yes, so in a nutshell, what is that? It is measuring volatility. What is it trying to do? Yeah, risk. So beta is more or less a proxy for risk. So beta is a proxy for risk. Like I said, it measures the volatility of what? A company's what? Stock, exactly. So it's like, so beta is like, it measures systematic risk. Yeah, I think. Abi? Yeah, so beta measures systematic risk. That's market risk. Volatility, kind of. Now with beta, we have unlevered beta and we have levered beta. Now let me try and explain how this works. So when you're trying to get the cost of capital, this is the formula, Abi. Risk-free rates plus beta into bracket market rate of return minus risk-free rates. Abi? That will give you cost of equity. Now this beta, there's usually issues with it. Most of the times, so how do you get beta exactly? How do you get beta? Yeah, it's a very long formula, but we don't need to know it. But usually, how do you get beta in investment banking? Exactly. Same thing with how you get growth rates. Only that you can explain growth rates. So with beta too, you can look for it, but the formula is extremely long. You don't need that. So all you ask, if they ask you how do you get beta, you tell them that they are agencies or financial service agencies. You can't hear me. Sorry. So I was asking how you get beta, and I was like, or he said that they are agencies, and I agreed with him. There are certain financial services agencies, the likes of Bloomberg, Capital IQ, FactSet. Don't mention those ones, sir. Just say certain agencies. Then you can go and research, because I don't know if Bloomberg provides information on beta, but those kind of agencies, they are so. Let me see if there are anyone. Let's see, agencies. Okay, yeah, so Bloomberg. Yes, so this is, so yeah, you can get it on Bloomberg. Where's P naught and D naught? This one. So D0 is dividend as at today, this year. If you grow that by the growth rate, you get dividend as at next year. P0 is price as at today. And G is growth rate. So yes, so this beta exactly. So you get beta from Bloomberg or other providers. But you know beta measures risk. Abi? And risk is rather subjective. So the risk of a Dangote not the same risk as BOA. Abi? It's also not the same risk as CCNN. It's also not the same risk as Ashaka. It's also not the same risk as what's Lafarge. Cool. So what you do is, most of the times, the beta you get, how do I explain this? Wait. So the beta you get from these service providers, they are usually based on industry averages, Abi. But industry averages doesn't reflect your capital structure. What's capital structure? Proportion of debt to equity, Abi? Fine. So what you usually have to do is to unlever this beta. There's a formula for unlevering beta. So by unlevering this beta, you're trying to make this beta capital structure neutral. Because we all know that two companies in the same industry can have significantly different capital structure. So it won't be fair on your valuation analysis to use a beta that reflects the capital structure of a totally unrelated company and apply that to your own company. So that is the logic of unlevering this beta. Now, how do you unlever this beta? There's a formula. Let me see. Beta, beta, beta. So it has to do with something over 1, Abi? Is it 1? Okay, chill. So to unlever beta, it's 1. Is it? No, there's something on top. Wait, I'm coming. So to unlever the beta, yeah, exactly. So this beta now is already levered. So it's now the levered beta. Levered beta. This is the beta you get from your Bloomberg and the rest over. Shakira, over what? 1. Is it plus or minus? Okay, over 1 plus 1 minus tax rate multiplied by what? Debt to equity. So this is the formula for getting an unlevered. This is the formula to unlever a beta. So this is the beta you get from your service providers. It's levered. It reflects the capital structures of different companies. But you're not interested in that. You want this beta to be neutral. You want to unlever it and relever it. Yeah. Unlever and relever. That sounds nice. So you want to unlever this beta and relever the beta. Not liver like liver in your body and kidney or no. That'll just be very, very.
Can you explain, I really want to get the concept of why
Okay.
we have to unlever it?
So like I said, this beta you get here reflects what? It reflects the capital structure of a business. Because the capital structure of a business is what determines the risk of the business, Abi. If a business has so much debt, it will be more risky than a business that has little debt and more equity. So usually in getting your cost of equity, this is the formula. Risk-free rates plus beta times market premium. Abi? Now we are saying, how do you get this beta? There's a very long formula to get it, but we won't bother ourselves. All we would tell our interviewer is that you can get it on financial services providers like Bloomberg. So the beta you get on all those from all those companies are usually levered. Levered in the sense that they are usually representative of the capital structure of different companies. Abi? But we want the cost of equity of our company, meaning whatever beta we are using here has to reflect the capital structure of our company. Abi? So this beta we've collected now, we want to unlever it. How do you unlever this beta? You unlever this beta by, this is the formula, just know the formula. So to unlever the beta, it's the levered beta, this one we got, divided by what? 1 plus what? 1 minus the tax rate, and multiply that by debt to equity. Now the problem is now this debt to equity. No, debt to equity ratio, everybody knows debt to equity ratio now. So in a business, you have debt, this is what we did. Where is it? So if there's debt of 70, there's equity of 30. What is debt to equity ratio? 70 over 30. I mean that's 7 divided by 30. Yeah?
Sorry for breaking in.
Yeah, no problem.
So are you trying to say that the beta we get online from these financial service providers are usually generalized, so we want to personalize it to our kind of capital structure?
Short and simple, that's just it. That's just it. So I want to personalize it. How do you personalize it? You personalize it by using this formula. Now, this is the formula for it. Delivered beta, what we got, you divide it by 1 plus 1 minus our tax rate, and then the debt to equity ratio. Now this is where this is another thing. It's actually not hard. So usually this debt to equity ratio is going to be the debt to, let me see, because when we're relivering, you now just hold on, to lever the beta, reliver it to our stuff is going to be the unlevered beta into brackets 1 plus 1 minus tax rate DE. So this DE now is going to be our debt to equity ratio. So this DE now shows our own capital structure. The beta we are applying this our own capital structure to is our beta, like the neutral beta. So to now get our own beta, which is levered, we are applying our debt to equity our capital structure. So usually what I would assume, you guys can check it up, is that this debt to equity here for this beta, this generic beta, is the debt to equity of the industry. Does that make sense? So if this beta is the beta for the industry, like the average industry beta, this debt to equity would also be the average debt to equity obtainable in different companies in that same industry. Now to unlever it, we don't want generic, like I said, let's personalize it. We're going to take that levered beta, we are going to divide it by 1 plus 1 minus tax rate minus debt to equity. Abi, this debt to equity should be the industry debt to equity. Read it up, I'm not sure. Don't debt to equity. Don't rely on me, I want to say nonsense during your interview. I'm not to bubble my way out of it. So you guys should read this up. But I think that this debt to equity should be the capital structure obtainable in the industry. So you are trying to unlever it. So it's now the levered beta over 1 plus 1 minus tax rate. They'll give you the tax rate in the question. Multiply that by the by the capital structure in the industry. Now whatever beta you get here is now free. This beta is now a beta regardless of capital structure. It has been unlevered. You've removed the capital structure of the industry from it. Now to now make this beta our beta, we are going to apply our tax rates, we are going to apply our own capital structure, and the formula is this unlevered beta into brackets 1 plus 1 minus tax rates multiplied by our capital structure. So that gives you levered, that gives you what? Levered beta. Now that levered beta is now what you are going to use in your KPM calculation. Because what are we trying to get with this KPM? What are we trying to get with KPM? Which cost of equity? The market's cost of equity or our cost of equity? So everything here has to be tailored to us. Risk-free rates generic. So if you don't want to, so risk-free rates, KPM, cost of equity. What is cost of equity? The cost of what? Investing in a business, like the opportunity cost. If you don't invest in the business, what would you have gotten? You have gotten returns on government securities. That's why risk-free rate is here. But the thing is that for investing in this business is risky. You guys can default. Money can go down the drain. I won't get my money back. Because equity shareholders, they are risk takers, So for taking that additional risk, you have to be compensated. That's where this now comes in. Market return in excess of what you get on a risk-free security. And then you apply beta. So everything about this has to be tailored to the company. That's why this beta, we have to unlever it and we have to relever it. Your concept of unlevering it is that this beta is a generic beta. We have to personalize this beta. So to personalize it, there is a formula. This levered beta divided by 1 plus 1 minus tax rate times the debt to equity, the capital structure of the industry. It gives us an unlevered beta. Now to lever this beta to our business, to relever it, to make it personalized, you now take this on. That's why to relever a beta, you have to unlever it first. That's why you have to do this first. And if you know this formula, you can get this formula. Because I think it's subject to formula or something. So to get the levered beta, you now take the unlevered beta, you multiply. I don't expect you to get it now. I didn't get it the first time. I didn't get the logic. Just note the formula, read up online, Try and get the old. You can't just get everything now. It's not possible unless you are very smart. Exactly. So this means we are finally using a levered beta. Yeah. Exactly. Now let me see how it relates to the unlevered cash flow. Yeah. So this means we are finally using a levered beta. Yes, because you are discounting. Now it makes sense. You are discounting cash flows by what? By WACC. Abi? And to get WACC, you're not discounting cash flows by WACC of the industry. You're discounting it by WACC of the company. And to get WACC is cost of debt, after tax cost of debt, multiply that by the proportion, and you add that to cost of equity multiplied by the proportion. Now the problem is this cost of equity. You can get it in two ways, this and this. People like interviewers like CAPM because they can ask you all these tricky questions. What does beta signify? How do you get beta? What do you do to the beta? How do you unlever? How do you relever? With this other one, where is it? Dividend discount money is as simple as this. All they ask is, what are your assumptions for growth rates? Still use the same one you use for Gordon. They don't really ask you so much. They just ask you just to know that you know this one. But this one, they can tackle you. They can ask questions and actually find out if you actually know it. So that's why I'm taking my time to explain this, and that's why you guys need to get it. You still need to read it up later. You have to read it up. So that is how you do it. You unlever the beta, then you relever the beta using the company's capital structure. How do you get the company's capital structure? They might not give you a question you find or an example they give you, but they always give you the value of debt and they always give you the value of equity. Abi? With the value of debt and the value of equity, you can get debt to equity ratio. Debt to equity ratio is simply debt over equity. What is the ratio? Usually in decimal, 0.7, 1. Blah, blah, blah. So that's what you apply there. Then you get the levered beta. That levered beta is what you now use in this formula. Every other thing here is simple. Risk-free rates. You guys have answered it. The rate of return on riskless security, government securities. The market rate of return they'll give you. So if you invest your money in a market index, say standard, so there are indexes or indices that track the general market condition. In America now, there are lots of indices that track the S&P 500. So what will be the market return is like the return you'd have gotten if you invested in the market. Now, how do you quantify the market? You can never invest in each security in the S&P 500. There are actually more than 500 stocks in the S&P 500. You can't invest in each and every one of them. So the best you can do is to invest in an index that tracks or follows the market. Many of those indexes, they track the S&P 500, they track the FTSE 100, or the Dow 30. So it's generally believed in finance that these are representative of the market. So if you want to know how the Nigerian equities market performed last week, you can't go and start looking at, also, how did Dangote perform? How did Air Service perform? How did NASCOM perform? How did they know? There's an all-share index. And I'm very sure there are mutual funds that track, or there are indexes or indices that track the all-share index. So if you invested in those indices or those mutual funds that tracks the market, what would have been the return you'd have gotten? That's the market rate of return. Now, subtract the risk-free rate from that market rate of return, you get your market risk premium. Market risk premium. Apply beta to it, add it to risk-free rate, you get your KPM. And then you come to the formula.
When you multiply market risk premium by beta,
what do you get? You get what you get. You get what you get by multiplying. Is there a name for it? I don't think there's a name. I don't know. You can check. So multiply this by this, you get what you get. Add that to risk-free rate, you've gotten your KPM. The reason we are going through all this stuff is to get cost of equity for WACC. Because we know WACC is what? WACC is what? Cost of equity. Where is it? So WACC is this. We are keeping ours very simple. It's equals to cost of what? This is debt. After tax cost of debt. 1 minus tax rate. And you also have to know the proportion. So this is proportion, Abi. So just assume a proportion. So times the proportion plus cost of equity times its proportion WACC. And we need this WACC because it's needed in the DCF. You see the DCF, all these things I'm telling you, get future cash flows, discount. You discount using WACC. So you have to know how to get WACC. You have to make assumptions to get WACC. That's why DCF is very sensitive. Look at the DCF now, for example. If you are using the Gordon's growth model for your cost of equity. You need to make assumptions for growth rates. So all of that, those are some of the issues. So they might not ask you, does everybody get how we go work? Everybody, does anybody understand? Any question?
Yeah.
Okay, question.
So to get that market return,
You're usually given.
the,
You'll give you that, obviously, they'll give you market return.
okay, that for instance, if
If you want to do it yourself, market return, yeah, so you just check what the all share index, how the all share index performed. What? It's negative. So yeah, so that will be negative too. Because it's arithmetic. Risk-free rate plus this times this. So whatever you get, you are still plusing. If it's negative, so you are subtracting. So you're, yeah? Didn't get which one? This part? This work? This one? So what I'm saying is what I've said before. WACC is, cost of debt. The after-tax cost of debt. So it will be cost of debt times 1 minus tax rate. You multiplying it by 1 minus tax rate is accounting for tax. Multiply that by the proportion. You know how we did the whole proportion thingy. Plus cost of equity, KE, times the proportion of equity in the capital structure. So that gives you the weighted average cost of debt. Now there could be preferred stock. Same logic. You'd have to find the cost of preferred stock. Now cost of preferred stock is usually, I think, the price of the stock, price of the preferred stock over discount rate. Is it over discount? Yeah, so it's either, no. So, yeah, dividend, exactly, thank you. So it's yeah, dividend divided by price, and you get a rate there. That gives you the cost of preferred stock. Yeah.
So there's something I really want to understand. For example,
sorry.
For example, for you to get the cost of, okay, for you to get the part of the debt.
Okay.
So we have to deduct tax, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that of equity, we don't need to.
No.
So there's something about tax, so, okay, a particular type of
It's tax, so let me ask, that's a good angle. Which is cheaper, debt or equity? Why is debt cheaper?
Because the interest on it is tax deductible.
How is it tax deductible?
Before, when there's some tax stable expenses and there's some accounting expenses, so in like depreciation now, the tax authorities don't recognize depreciation, so they add it back to your profit. But the interest is actually paid to shareholders, deducted from whichever country that is going to be taxed.
Yeah, that's a very high level way to look at it, or a complicated way to look at it, but it's also very simple. So the whole logic is, if you go to your income statement, so it comes to your income statement, Abby. Sales, cost of goods sold, gross profit, depreciation, EBIT. This is earnings before interest and tax. Now let's continue. Earnings before interest and tax. Deduct your interest. So okay, let's continue here. So you have earnings. Can you guys see? Is there a spare paper? Let's manage this one. So right here. So you have your what? Earnings before what? Interest and tax, Abi. Deduct your interest. You have what? Earnings before what? Tax. Apply your tax. Tax. You have what? You have what? Earnings after tax. PAT. As in, what's that confusing? Or net income. Exactly. And let's look at why we say it is debt is cheaper and it is tax deductible. Now this interest here, you see, you're allowed to take it away from EBIT before you get your earnings before tax. Then you now apply your tax rate on this earnings before tax, and then you get a figure. Now let's see what would happen if we were not allowed to deduct this. Would our tax be higher or lower? Our tax would be higher, Abi? Because the amount available to be taxed will be higher. So in a way, by being allowed to charge your interest before being taxed, you are in a way saving cost. I don't know if you guys get it. Because the cost of the debt is what? 10%. But you're also allowed to, so 10% is your cost of the debt, Abi. So if you take out a debt of 100, 10% of 100 is what? 10. So you are meant to be paying interest of 10. The tax authorities are saying you can remove this 10 from what? Like you can remove it from your earnings before interest and tax before you give us what to tax. So in a nutshell, they are saying this interest you are even paying is more or less free in a way, because you are allowed to take it out from tax. If you are not allowed to take it out of tax, that interest will still be there and you tax it. But now you're allowed to take it away as an expense. So it reduces the amount you pay to the government, and that more or less reduces the cost of that debt to you. Because either ways, if you're not allowed to take it away, you'd have been paying higher tax, which is unavoidable. But now that you are now allowed to take away the interest on your debt, you are more or less going to pay less tax. So in that way, the overall cost of your debt is cheaper. That's why cost of debt is cheaper, because of the tax deductibility, like you mentioned. That's why you always, when you are trying to get your cost of debt for cost of equity, it's always after tax cost of debt, because that is actually the real cost, not just the 10%. The 10% you still benefit here, you pay less tax. So the after tax cost of debt is the real cost of debt. That's why it's KD into bracket 1 minus T. So after you take away the advantages you get from being allowed to tax it, what is the real cost of debt? That's all we need. You multiply that by the proportion of that and you get that and that. So that answers your question, Abi? But that's what you're trying to go towards. Yeah, so they ask you that question, debt or equity, which is cheaper? You tell them debt. This is why debt is cheaper. Because you are allowed to take away the interest on your debt before being taxed. So that tax deductibility is what makes debt cheaper than equity. It reduces the, and you see the way it translates. So if your cost of debt ordinarily is what? 10%, Abi? What we really need, or what you are really going to be bearing, is the after tax effect. So this 10% times, your tax rate is 40%, 1 minus tax rate is what? 60%. So that's 10% times what? Times 40%, Abi? That's 40 over 100, 0.4. 0.4 times 0.1 is what? 0.4 times 0.1 is what? That's 0.04. That's what? Times 100. That's 4%. So really, the cost of that debt is what? 4%, which is cheaper. And what makes it cheaper? That tax. Exactly, the after tax effect. Without the after tax effect, why do they factor in tax? Because every business have to, you have to pay. Yeah, you didn't pay it, you always have to make provisions for it, because one way or another you're going to pay tax. You can't escape it. Or else that's going to be a problem for the business you are trying to value and invest in. You're not investing in that business, down the line, FIRS now comes, lock it up. You're going to lose revenues for that day, because you're trying to do what? Prove smart, but you don't want to pay tax. To lock your office for like a year, 3 months, it can't be a year actually. So a week, but the revenue you have lost in a week. That's why any analysis you do in like finance, capital budgeting, you always have to make provisions for tax. You always have to make provisions for tax. Okay. Who asked you? Philemon asked you. Which one is riskier? Which one is more expensive? From what you said now, which one is more expensive? Which is cheaper? So which is riskier? Why is equity riskier? How is debt riskier?
Because the people, because the debt will not start in the beginning. If you have to pay interest all the time, so if you don't make enough money to pay interest, then it becomes a problem. You can sign up to pay interest.
Yes, so which one is riskier? Which one would you rather hold, debt or equity? How do you hold equity if? So let me explain it like this. So in terms of riskier, we are saying, which one would you not get anything if anything happens? Equity. So equity is riskier because if this business should go under, they are going to do what? Get total assets, get total liabilities, deduct total liabilities from total assets. Then anything, if there's anything remaining, there's some people that have liabilities more than assets. They now start paying in order of seniority. So there's senior debt, there's subordinated debt before they even get to your own debt. So even debt told ourselves, there are levels to the debt. There are levels to everything in life.
I think it was looking at from the firm's perspective.
Even from the firm's, So yeah, but usually when they ask that question, they're looking at it from your perspective as an investor. So we've agreed now that equity is riskier for the mere fact that they are the last to be settled in the event of any eventuality. So debt is, equity is riskier, debt is cheaper. Don't mix it up. Debt is cheaper, equity is riskier. You wanted to ask a question?
Yes, based on this, I have another question, but I want
Okay.
to make a comment on this.
Okay.
I saw an argument online where they said the answer is it depends.
Okay.
So, and they
Yeah.
said if you project the organization to perform very well in the future,
Okay.
then debt is cheaper. But
So I get your angle. So debt is cheaper is standard. What are you saying now? That the riskiness of debt or equity is subjective, or it depends. That's what you're trying to say. Or is it the cheapness of debt? Which one?
cheapness of debt
Debt.
or equity.
Okay.
So I saw the argument. It says that if you project that the company will do very well in the foreseeable future, that debt is actually cheaper. And if the company is not, if you project that it's not going to do fine, that equity is cheaper, then it says something like they already know the amount you'll be paying on your debt. Let's assume we have an interest of 10% you have to pay on your debt. But your equity, you have to pay them dividends. So it depends if you perform very well and you make more profit, you pay more dividends, which makes it it increases the percentage of your revenue that you pay out as dividend. But if the company is not, if the company is doing very fine and you pay a particular percentage of debt, it reduces the percentage you pay out of your total. I don't know if you.
I get where you're driving at. So let me see. So what you're trying to say is that. So are you agreeing that debt is cheaper, or you are saying it depends?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Because yeah, I think I get what you read. So they are trying to justify, or they are trying to say that equity can be. Let me see. So equity is a bit more expensive. They are trying to justify why equity is expensive, I think. Because, like you said, equity holders, what do? They get returns after you've settled every other person, Abi. So fine, you're a debt holder, you are secured. Yours is not risky, you are guaranteed. See, if you make 1 naira, you pay me first before you pay other people. But guess what? If I make 20 million, what I guaranteed you is what? 1 naira, Abi? I'll pay you 1 naira, but that's all you're going to take. But the equity holders who are the risk takers, they would share in that upside. So 20 million was what they made. We paid the debt holder 1 million naira. We are left with 19. Okay, let's keep 10 million in retained earnings, and let's divide that 9 million by O. The debt holder is not going to come and participate in that. It's going to be the equity holder. So the upside for the equity holder is more than the upside for the debt holder. But it all boils down to which one would you want? Would you want guaranteed on 1,000 naira every day, or you want the promise of 1 million naira in the future? Which one?
Okay, so my question now is, when I read about the beta we discussed the other time, I read that it actually measures the volatility of a company's share price to the market.
Okay.
So if we have a beta that is less than 1, it is less volatile compared to the market. And if we have one that is greater than 1, it is more volatile compared to the market. So I don't understand how we brought in the industry data, because I've been following, I follow CNBC.
Okay.
And I noticed that the data for each company actually differs.
Exactly.
So
Why do you think makes the beta different from each other? And what do you think makes because you said now that beta is what? The volatility of a company's share price to the market. What do you think will make a company's share price different from another company's share price? What do you think would make a company's share price more volatile to the market in comparison to another company? At the fundamental level, what do you think drives that?
Think sentiment about the
fundamental level. Ignore the market's noise.
Earnings.
Yeah, earnings. What drives earnings?
Sales.
Okay, what drives sales?
Production.
What drives production? What are you going to use to produce? What are you going to use to produce?
Okay, assets and
Yeah, how are you going to get the assets? What would you use to get the assets?
Funds.
Funds, Abi. How do you get that funds?
You raise or you
How would you raise? Exactly. You raise in what sense?
You sell.
Shares, Abi, equity, or you do what? You borrow. So at the fundamental level, what drives this is what? Capital structure. So what I was saying now was that that beta reflects what? The volatility of, so the beta you get to do your analysis is usually a generic beta. So it's the beta of, so they've gotten the beta of like every single, you can't do that because you don't have the time, you're not going to sleep there. They've gotten the beta for every company on the S&P 500, they have the beta. Then they've now gotten the beta for every company in each industry. They've now provided an average. That average is what you usually get. But that beta reflects what? The volatility of those average companies' share price to what? The market. But we want to find the volatility of our company's share price to what? The market. So we have to unlever that beta. When we now unlever it, we now reliver it. The whole process of relivering means we are now applying our capital structure to that unlevered beta. So that gives a representative and accurate figure of the volatility of our company's share price to the market. So that's your process of unlevering, relivering.
So the beta we get will be general.
It's usually generic. Usually generic. That's the thing. That's the point. Because it makes no point. If you have for individual ones, just take the individual one now. And it's even true if you even have the individual one. If you have the one for the company you're looking for, just take that one and use. But in a scenario where you don't have for individual companies and you have a generic one, you have to unlever it. Then apply the company's debt to equity. Any other question?
Yeah, this
Okay.
preferred stock, I didn't get it.
Okay, so cost of preferred stock. What is the cost of preferred stock? It's the dividends you get from the preferred stock. So you might have a preferred stock, you might have a 10% preferred stock. So it means what? What is the cost of that preferred stock? Get the dividends and get the price of that preferred stock. You divide it according to him or not me. You don't have ready. So you get the dividends divided by the price of that stock. It gives you a percentage. That percentage is the actual cost of that preferred stock. So if you have a preferred stock in your capital structure, you'd also have to find the proportion of that preferred stock to the total capital structure, then multiply that by that cost of preferred stock, then add everything together. It gives you the weighted. So weighted means we have debt, we have equity, we have preferred. Debt has 70%, with debt has 50%, equity has 30%, preferred has 20%. So we'll multiply those percentages to the individual component cost, add everything together, and then we get WACC.
And I think in addition, the preferred stock percentage is more or less very, very similar to that of the cost of equity. The only difference is that it doesn't go. So if you notice, the growth rate is the only difference.
Yeah, in terms of formula, D over P. Exactly. So that's another one. Any other question? I know it's like it's a lot to like take in. I mean, some people's brains, they shut down. I can't come and kill myself. That one should be going to. Exactly. So yeah, I don't expect everybody to get it now. Just like go through the notes. I think they should share this video so you can watch it again. If you're the type that learn better with watching. So I think with that, we are pretty much done with DCF. So the only thing now you need to know is, what are the advantages of DCF? What are the disadvantages of, I think I wrote some down. Advantages of DCF. So DCF is more likely to be accurate because DCF evaluation rests on what? Cash flows, not profits. So all those manipulations they would have done rather with profits, you eliminate it by using a DCF. Why? Because you are dealing with cash flows, EBIT. You remember how we get our free cash flows. Yeah. Another advantage is that it determines the intrinsic value of a business. It includes all major assumptions about the business. It allows you to build a range of scenarios showing the impact on value based on different views. Like you can go online and check advantages of DCF, disadvantages.
Just give us two.
Sure. So it's more likely to be accurate because DCF value it's derived from cash flows, not profits. And then it determines the intrinsic value of a business. So at the fundamental level, what is this business worth? These are two advantages. The disadvantages, I'm sure you guys have noticed now, there are lots of assumptions. You'd have to assume growth rate, Tabi. What else you have to assume? Yes, so to get your free cash flows too, there are lots of assumptions, Abby. With a forecasted income statement, forecasting means making assumptions. You're assuming revenue will grow by 10%. Who told you it's going to grow by 10%? So those are assumptions. So the DCF is very, very sensitive to the assumptions. So that's a disadvantage. It's prone to errors because of those sensitivities. You might have predicted that revenues grow by 10%, but it actually grows by 2%. So whatever value you would have gotten will be way, way higher.
But you just said it's also accurate.
It's accurate in this. That's why I said it is accurate because it relies on what? Why am I saying it is accurate? Because it relies on what? Cash flows. So in that sense, it is accurate relative to other ones. But in another sense, it is not accurate because it depends on lots of assumptions. You have to assume. You are not God. You can't know for a fact. Fine, we are trying to eliminate the mago in profits. But by trying to eliminate that, we are forecasting too. And forecasting is a guess. It's guesswork. People now, research guys, all these research guys, they'll forecast the inflation will drop by 15%. But who told it's going to drop by? What if it doesn't drop? Exactly. So you try as much as you can to make your forecast, but at the end of the day, it might not be what it is. So in that sense, it's prone to errors. It depends on a lot of assumptions. Which other one? It is prone to over complexity. Exactly. Who agrees with me that this thing is very complex? Almost everybody will agree it's complex. You have to get Gordon's growth model. You have to get multiples model. You have to get free cash flow. You have to forecast. You have to get up. It's too complex. Enterprise value. See the way we did it. Sharp. I can't even give anybody an example on this right now. Exactly. So that's it. It's prone to over complexity. It is very sensitive to changes in assumptions. So if sorry everybody. So another disadvantage is that it is prone to sensitivity in assumptions. If I should increase the growth rate of revenue, it will drastically change the value we would get from this DCF. Now all of that you can do with Excel. So with an Excel you're building scenarios. So there'll be like a column. Is it a column? What do they call it? There'll be a cell where you build in that scenario. So there'll be best case scenario, there'll be base case scenario, there'll be worst case. So you more or less link that using formulas, index, match, what have you. And then you can now say under best case scenario, this business will grow by 10%. Under base case scenario, this business will grow by 5%. Under worst case scenario, this business grows by 3%. Whereby when you go to that cell, so that cell, you'd build a drop-down menu on it. Whereby you click on it, you see best, base, and worst. You click on best, it automatically, because you've linked that cell to other variables. So in your Excel sheet now, on this row, you'd have best case, base case, worst case. Best case, year 1, revenue grows by what? Revenue grows by 10%. Base case, revenue grows by 5%. Worst case, revenue grows by what? 3%. Now, this is linked to that toggle. So once you click on that toggle and you click best case, through formulas, index, match, which other one? There's index, there's match, there's offset. Through that formula, once you click on base case or best case, it automatically feeds in here. So if you click on best case, it selects the rows containing best case, and those rows containing best case feeds also to like the revenues in your forecast, in your income statement forecast. Whereby on this sheet, on this input and calculation sheet, once you just click on best case, it selects best case. That best case feeds into the income statement where you are forecasting, and it works with 10%. If you change it to 5%, it picks 5% here. That 5% feeds into the income statement and forecasts the income statement. So that's it makes it very interesting. So that disadvantage is that it is very sensitive to changes in assumptions. If you make an assumption of revenue growing by 10%, you get one enterprise value. Just change the assumption to growing by 5%. You see the drastic change in the enterprise value you get. So it's very, very sensitive to the assumptions. That's a disadvantage. It also, it looks at companies' valuation in isolation. So all you're looking at is cash flow. It's only cash flow. There are businesses that their brand name is very, 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 very valuable. Businesses like Apple, now their brand name is massive. Customer loyalty. Businesses like Coca-Cola. Some people, they drink only Coca-Cola products. That loyalty, you can't build in loyalty. You can't build in brand premium and all those stuffs into a DCF. DCF is no. We don't care about your brand. We don't care if you're Dangote. Cash flows are you generating, and that's just it. Most of the time it doesn't make sense, but it gives you that. So yeah, so it's DCF value tends to be isolated. So it tends to look at component valuation in isolation. Then another one, the component of DCF is terminal value. So this terminal value, there are lots of assumptions there. And most of the time, your enterprise value, so there's a way to look at this thing. If your terminal value is, if the proportion of the terminal value in enterprise value is more than the forecasted cash flows, then your valuation is very, very, there's a word for it, very, very sensitive, or there's something they call it. Is overly reliant on your assumptions. Because with terminal value, what you're trying to say is that we believe this cash flow will grow by so and so percent. So it can be like, it all boils down to it being sense. It's a lie, it's just government support. I won't grow your revenue by 10%. That's why you don't just pick one valuation method. That's what I told you. People should read up on it. So there's a football field analysis. Football field. So a football field analysis, is the analysis they call it, or a football field chart or analysis or something, sure. So what this football field does is, it looks at the value of that business using different methodologies. So comparable companies, it will give you the best case scenario, base case scenario, worst case scenario. This is the value of this business using comparable companies. This is the value of this business using what? Precedent transaction. Based on previous transactions that have happened in the past, this is the value we came up under different stuffs. And then your DCF, this is the value of the business. So if your DCF is giving you an enterprise value of 200 million, your company's comparable is giving you 90, your precedent transaction is giving you 100. Your assumptions in your DCF is off the roof because it's ridiculously high. That's why you don't just rely on just one. You look at it. You can't make errors in everything now. Most of the times they're always close to each other or slightly off. DCF might be slightly greater or slightly lesser because of assumptions. But precedent and comparables, precedent will usually be higher cost of control premium, like we said. But they're always not so far off. So if a business is say worth 100, a business can be worth 100 million using comparables, can be worth 150 using precedent transaction, and it could be worth say 170 using DCF, or worth 90 using DCF. That means if it's worth 90, it means your assumptions are very pessimistic. If it's worth 170, it means very. So you now compare using the three of them and come up with a value. Yep.
There's no perfect valuation.
Yep.
So it was close to perfection.
There's nothing close. God is perfect. So there's nothing is almost. You can never get these things right. You only try your best to estimate. That's the thing. Even when you get the perfect valuation and you buy that business at the perfect price, what's to tell you that business won't shut down tomorrow? So that's just it.
So I wanted to ask, since in valuation we are looking at estimating or forecasting what your cash flow
that's this year.
Starting from the sales and stuff like that. So how do you now link valuation to modeling? Because it's looking like modeling.
This is modeling. All those forecasts, what do you think they call it? I know. So yeah, that's pretty much. How are you doing modeling? You're forecasting, you're growing revenues, you're making assumptions. DCF is all modeling. Modeling. Yeah, any other questions before we call it a day? Ask me other questions you want to ask. I think we are done with valuations. Is there any other thing? If there's any other thing, I'll come and take it, but I think this has covered. Yeah, so like I said, know the advantages, disadvantages, and just off the top of your head, for reality, for example, especially company comparables, know which multiples you use in different industries. Now, we said EV, EBITDA. In an airline industry, fine, in an airline industry, for example, they will ask you, what multiple do you think you'd use? The multiple you'd use there is EV to EBITDA. EBITDA. Rent is a major cost in aviation, so it's also factored into it. In an energy company, for example, it could be they'll ask you off the top of your head, what multiple you think you'd use? So most of the multiples they use in all this energy mining and what have you, price to million cubic feet equivalent. So this million cubic feet equivalent is an indication of the gas reserves or the petroleum reserves or whatever reserves that company deals in that they have. So this is the reserve, So if you want to buy this business, the multiple you use should more or less relate to what this business has, Abi. And this figure gives you million cubits, is it cubits? Million cubic feet equivalent. This gives you a measure of the gas reserves or their natural reserves. So this is priced to million cubic feet. You get a multiple, you can apply it across board. So this is for airline, this is for energy, natural resources. Now what about tech companies, for example? How would you value Facebook? So as of when Facebook started, how would you have valued Facebook? Or a technology business? Yeah, fine, obviously relative multiple. So you could have done something like price to unique page view visits. Yeah, most tech businesses, how do they generate revenue? Through ads, Abi. And how do they get more advertisers to advertise? Why would an advertiser want to advertise his stuff on a site? Is it not because of the number of page visits? Exactly. So for a company like Facebook now, when it just started, no, they didn't have revenue, sir, Abi. Did they have revenue? Did they have revenue? No, not really. No cash flow, no nothing. So you look at price to, so what are the number of visitors that visit their sites every day, every month, every year? Try and get a multiple. So you just have to be able to think on your feet. I think they asked one of my friends, there's a very funny one. Was it natural resources? They asked that one very complicated, would I call it complicated? Like not the usual thing. Like all these kind of things, they'll ask you, how would you value, they'll ask you, how would you value they can ask you, how would you value a miner now? Exactly, how would you value a mining company? How would you value a mining company? You think along this line. Theirs might not be million cubic feet. Theirs might now be, just try and look for, so miners, they deal in natural resources, Abi. So a miner like Glencore now does all this iron ore. So you have to know what measure, what the financial term is for the storage value of iron ore in the ground. Gas is million cubic feet equivalent. For iron ore, there may be one fancy term. So all you do is you apply your EV to that. So you're always applying EV to one line item. The line item is to show you what the business is worth, yeah?
Don't value is cool now.
Don't value is spoon.
It's cool,
It's cool, okay.
So a multiple could be EV to number of students or something.
Not necessarily. No, it could be, so it could be EV to school fees. School fees will act as a proxy for revenue.
Okay.
So enterprise value to revenue gives you, so you look at what the business is worth, apply that to their revenue. It gives you a multiple, and then you can use to value stuff like that. Yeah. So
Sorry, in case where if they tell you to do natural resources, I can't
yeah.
remember,
You don't know how that's your ball. That's why you're paying this money, so you know.
What I'm saying is that that's just the way you answer it. You estimate.
Yeah, so you tell them that for. You don't tell them you don't know the metric. So you tell them that you are not really conversant with the technical terms in the mining industry or what have you, but you feel that you try and get a multiple based on, say, enterprise value to a metric that would show you the value of the business, like how much iron ore do they have if they are into mining. So you apply your EV to the amount of iron ore they have in proven iron ore reserves they have, and then you come up with a valuation. Yeah, that's a very, very nice answer. They don't expect you to, like, really. Yeah, if I'm interviewing you and I ask you how would you value a mining company, you're telling me the technical term, I'll be like, guy, why are you so nerdy? This is what you use your life for. So we're looking at the technical terms in mining. Exactly. So those are the terms. That's what questions?
Okay. Yes, I understand that this valuation is to any people make business decisions. Is there like a margin of error that you hope to stay within so that to make what
they're usually so I think the margin of error is usually 20% or something. I don't know how that works. But obviously there will usually be a margin of error, yeah. In anything in finance, there's usually a margin of error. So that's something you can read up on. Any other question?
Sorry, I want to get the million cubic feet
Equivalent, yeah. Measures the value or the quantity of gas reserves they have. So if they have, yeah, that's for gas. So if they have a contract with maybe the government of Brazil to extract gas from the Brazilian sea, if there's anything like that, how much has been estimated to be contained in that Brazilian seed that the government has given them. It's now their assets. So we now need to value that business based on their proven reserves. So it's now be you comparing enterprise value to a line item. That line item now will now be the quantity of their gas reserves. Any other questions?
Sorry.
Any other questions? Thank you very, 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 very much. If you have any questions, feel free to send it to Beatrice, and Beatrice will send it to me. If you do evaluation, am I open to reviewing? You pay now. Yeah, if you pay, why not? It's money now. Are people pay now? People pay money to value it. It's very cool money. You know how to model and dress. So yes, I'm open to it if you pay. What if you what?
Talentmine.
Based on what? Talentmine is paying me to come here. It's not charity. Yeah. So, any other questions? Fine. Just take your time and just review it. That's the advice I'll give you. Anything? I said, just take your time and just go over and review what you learned today. I don't expect you to like figure it out immediately. But please make sure you figured everything out before your interview. When is your next mock interview? You guys have a calendar now. When? 2 weeks time. When is the next one? The next one is going to be very, very... This first one was not standard, in my opinion. The next one will be standard. So thank you very, very much, everybody. I'm sure you guys will be fine. Last, everybody will be fine, Abby. Shakira. How far now, Taufik? How are you? Shakira. How far now?
We met the other day.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can actually help me with the material you use for, because I noticed you had like a PDF.
Oh no, so I think I wrote it like there's like a note I took a picture of. Like I wrote it down and then took a picture of it, like to more or less guide me on what to say. So it's not like they're going to get material. I can try and check, because I think I have a couple of materials. I'll try and check, then I can send it to Beatrice to just share it with the class.
Probably I'll chat to you on WhatsApp. You can send it to me, I can send it to the group.
I'm not WhatsApp.
No.
No WhatsApp. I tell my WhatsApp.
Why?
Distraction. So yeah, so when I get it, I'll just send it to Beatrice. How far now, John? Not bad though. I just did.
You are eating the money.
Which is less money am I eating? I pity you people.
Have you gone for?
When was no? So my wife is later this month.